Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto x Mount Lady in My Hero Academia. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by WINDSTORM16 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. All around, Kakashi saw that the village was in ruins, where just before, earlier that day, Konoha had been completely peaceful and in the process of going through the Chunin exam finals. Now though, most of the village was in complete ruins, while other parts were on fire, and all around, the Chunin were the sounds of fighting. Damn Orochimaru and his followers. Kakashi thought, cursing the Snake Sannin for what felt like the 1000th time, knowing this entire mess started with Suna and Odo invading the village during Sasuke's match against Gaara. Though it hadn't been the invading forces that were responsible for the destruction around him, it was those that took advantage of the invasion to also attack Konoha. Only they weren't allied with either side, while simply killing anyone that got in their way. The Akatsuki. Kakashi had heard about the organization recently during the month break for the finals, having heard about them from Jiraiya. While there wasn't much information, the Toad Sage was able to gather on the Akatsuki. What he did learn was that they were hunting the Jinchuriki, which included his student, Naruto Uzumaki. And with how both the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi and the Kikbi would be in one place, Kakashi figured the Akatsuki wouldn't pass on the chance to grab them both. Not to mention, taking out Konoha and Orochimaru in the process as well. Suddenly, Kakashi was pulled from his thoughts by a loud shriek of agony. Before looking, only for his eyes to widen when he saw Shukaku falling and crashing down in another part of the village. With the impact still being large and powerful enough to knocking Kakashi off his feet. Damn it. I thought it'd take longer for them to defeat Shukaku. Thought Kakashi, knowing if Gaara's been taken down, then it'll mean the Akatsuki will be coming after Naruto now. The Chunin immediately looking at his out-of-it student, having grabbed Naruto after learning the Akatsuki was here, knowing it'd be a priority to make sure the Akatsuki didn't get him. Though he had to place him under a small genjutsu, given Naruto's stubbornness and refusal to run away. Kakashi having also gone and grabbed the forbidden scroll of seals, knowing if Konoha did fall today, then they couldn't let the scroll fall into the wrong hands. Gotta keep moving and fast. Kakashi thought while getting up and going to grab Naruto and the scroll, only to tense when sensed several Odo and Suna ninja appearing around him, likely in an attempt to steal the scroll of seals. Just perfect. Muttered Kakashi while pulling out a kunai before quickly sunshining behind an Odo ninja and slitting his throat. The copy ninja then throwing the kunai through the skull of a Suna ninja before sunshining again behind two ninja, wrapping his arms around their necks before snapping them. Seeing a Suna ninja making a move for the scroll, Kakashi pulled out another kunai and sunshined in front of him, burying the kunai into their chest. The final one tried attacking Kakashi from behind, only for him to shunshin again and appear above the ninja while forming a Rasengan in his hand. Rasengan. Kakashi shouted, slamming the jutsu into the ninja's back, sending them crashing into the ground and killing them. It might not be the Hiraishin, but it still gets the job done. Thought Kakashi, glad he was able to end things quickly, knowing he couldn't afford to waste time by drawing out the fighting. But before he could grab Naruto and the scroll, Kakashi was forced to duck when a large triple-bladed scythe flew right past where his head once was. And look what I found, another heathen fucker to sacrifice to Jashin-sama and the Kikbi runt. Looks like Akuzu's going to lose out on some of the fun. Someone said, with Kakashi glaring at the person when he recognized the voice of who it was. Hidan. Kakashi said, glaring at the Jashinist Akatsuki member, having encountered him before when he tried getting the other genin away from the fighting, knowing this was out of their league. Only for Hidan to arrive and begin killing them all, including Sakura, much to Kakashi's anger and sadness at being unable to save his student and the other genin. Oh wait, you're that Cyclops from earlier, when I was sacrificing those brats to Jashin-sama. Kakuzu said you had a large bounty and that he'd handle you, but I suppose what he doesn't know won't hurt anyone, except you that is. Said Hidan, grinning madly as he rushed Kakashi while swinging his scythe, with the Chunin lifting his headband and revealing his Sharingan to predict and see his movements. Knowing that he can't afford to get so much as nicked by Hidan, or else it will be all over. The only one dying is you. Kakashi retorted, before pulling out a kunai and blocking Hidan's side, refusing to let the cultist escape to kill more people. But Itachi and Kisame. Meanwhile, where Shukaku had fallen in the village, Itachi and Kisame stood over the downed Jinchuriki. Well, that wasn't so hard, so much for that so-called ultimate defense of his. Kisame stated, pleased at how quickly they were able to take down the Ichibi Jinchuriki. Now, let's get this brat somewhere where no one will find him. Before seeing if we can't find the Kikbi Jinchuriki as well. Said Kisame, going to grab Gaara, only to step backwards when he burst into black flames, with his body soon being reduced to ash. I'm afraid that can't happen, Kisame. Itachi said, looking at his partner with his Manjukam Sharingan, with the Kiri missing Nin looking at him as well, though, rather than being angry or upset at his apparent betrayal. He was only disappointed and let out a sigh of resignation. "So, we're gonna do this then, huh?" Kisame said rhetorically, both of them being aware of the fact the only reason Itachi joined the Akatsuki was to act as a spy for Konoha. It's also the reason Kisame was assigned as Itachi's partner when he joined the organization. So he could keep an eye on him and if necessary, kill the Uchiha should he betray the Akatsuki. "Unfortunately so, Kisame," replied Itachi, knowing there was no longer a need to work for the Akatsuki with what's happening. "Well, for what it's worth, I was actually hoping it wouldn't come to this," Kisame said, having actually started to like Itachi with how similar they are, both of them cursed with having killed their comrades for the sake of the mission. "Agreed. I didn't think I'd find a sense of camaraderie again after leaving this place. But it seems I was wrong about that as well," stated Itachi, having found himself valuing the unique friendship they had since becoming partners. "But you also understand that this is the only option I have left. My brother is dead, I had to kill my clan and family to prevent a coup that would have only resulted in the Fourth Shinobi War, and the village I gave up everything for is burning around us. We've already killed the three responsible for both happening. Now all I have left is making sure that Naruto Uzumaki gets out of here alive." Itachi said, since they've already killed both Dansum and Orochimaru, and now with Gaara dead, his only goal left was ensuring his godbrother lived. He already failed his parents in taking care of Sasuke, he can't fail his mother again in failing to save her godson as well. "We all gotta do what we gotta do, Itachi. But we both know that while you may be powerful, you can't beat me in your current condition. Just know, I'll give you a death worthy of a shinobi," Kisame said while pulling out Samehada, knowing that with Itachi's illness, he wouldn't be able to beat him. "True, I can't beat you. But did you really think I didn't have a plan to deal with you as well?" questioned Itachi as crows began flying around them, including the one he'd placed Shisui's Manjukam Sharingan inside, much to Kisame's shock as the crow locked eyes with him. "This was the last gift from my cousin, Shisui Uchiha. His Manjukam Sharingan possesses the most powerful genjutsu in existence, Kodomatsukami. It can't be resisted or broken, as even if the target is aware of it being cast, it'll already be too late. It can implant false experiences inside a person's mind, making them believe they're doing something of their own free will, and unlike other genjutsu cast with the Sharingan, eye contact isn't required. And I made sure to implant 3 contingency commands in Shisui's eye. The first was for Sasuke, to have him protect Konoha should he have been corrupted by Madara and had my own eyes transplanted into him. The second was to counter Dansum should he ever try to use Shisui's other eye on me. And the third was for you Kisame should I ever need to betray the Akatsuki. The command will wipe away your loyalty to the Akatsuki and the Eye of the Moon plan," revealed Itachi, much to Kisame's shock as he dropped his stance. Itachi had done this was because despite their respective positions in their partnership, he did value their friendship. And the last thing Itachi wanted to do was kill another person he cares about, remembering what he'd done to his parents and to Izumi. With Kisame now sighing in annoyance while sheathing Samehada on his back, no longer needing to kill Itachi despite knowing exactly what just happened. "I hope you know that," Kisame stated, with Itachi simply nodding. "Noted. Now let's go, I sense Kakashi is with Naruto and he's battling Hidan, so he should be dead by the time we arrive," replied Itachi as they jumped off to meet up with Kakashi. When they arrived, they saw Kakashi looking at Hidan with his Manjukam Sharingan, while the Jashinist was cursing loudly as his head was getting sucked into a very familiar vortex. "So that's who you are behind the mask," thought Itachi, seeing Kakashi possess the same jutsu as Madara, or should he say Obito Uchiha. Kakashi took notice of the 2 Akatsuki members jumping down, making curse and get ready for another tougher fight. "You have nothing to worry about Kakashi, we're no longer enemies. We've already dealt with Dansum, Orochimaru, and the Ichibi Jinchuriki, now we simply have to make sure Naruto can no longer be captured or hunted by anyone in the elemental nations, ever again," Itachi said, with Kakashi regarding them warily, being one of the few in the know about Itachi's true mission on the night of the Uchiha massacre, and that he's a spy in the Akatsuki. "And what about him?" Kakashi asked, motioning to Kisame, wondering what the monster of the mist was doing here as well. "I used Shisui's Kodomatsukami, he's no longer with the Akatsuki either," replied Itachi, with Kisame grunting in annoyance, knowing it would mean he's very likely to die today, along with them. Kakashi relaxing slightly at this, before going over to Naruto and saw his genjutsu was wearing off as the whiskered blonde was waking up. "Kakashi-sen," Naruto said, only to look at Kakashi and Itachi's Sharingan eyes, with both of them implanting all of their jutsu arsenals into his head, along with some memories to help explain things. With the Uzumaki passing out from the genjutsu and sudden information being forced into his head. Just a few more things left. said Kakashi, grabbing the scroll of seals and putting it in a storage seal on Naruto's left shoulder before Kisame tossed him a scroll. Here, that contains every jutsu I know, put in there with that other one. Since if I'm going to die today with you idiots, I might as well ensure that I leave behind a legacy. Kisame said, surprising the Junin for a moment before nodding and placing it in the seal as well. Then a shadow clone arrived and handed Kakashi the mask of the Shinigami, having been made aware of several things, along with the Akatsuki. And the contingency plan in the event things ever went completely sideways and was unsalvageable, ensuring that Naruto and the Kyuubi was forever out of reach from those that'd be after him. Putting the mask on, Itachi and Kisame were momentarily surprised when the spectral image of the Shinigami appeared behind Kakashi. Even more so when the copy ninja then promptly stabbed himself in the stomach and cut it open. The Shinigami mirroring his movements with a rush of red chakra escaped its stomach and into Naruto's own as the yin half of the Kyuubi rejoined its yang half inside of him. Kakashi panted as he took the mask off and dropped it on the ground before crushing it beneath his foot, ensuring no one else would be able to use it. Gay just, on 1, more th thing. G gate of opening, open. G gate of healing, open. Gate of life, open. Said Kakashi as he began opening the 8 gates, knowing he'll need strength surpassing the 5 kg to do what he's going to do next. Here, you can barely stand, let alone finish whatever it is you're doing. Kisame said, putting a hand on Kakashi's back and began channeling a large amount of chakra into the copy ninja, further energizing him and helping him stand up straighter as he knew this would help him open the remaining gates. Thanks, I needed that. Gate of pain, open. Gate of limit, open. Gate of view, open. Gate of wonder, open. Kakashi said before holding out his hand. Gate of death open. Said Kakashi before puncturing his chest with his thumb, opening the final gate, focusing all his chakra into the 8th gate and creating the aura of blood as a result. Damn. Muttered Kisame, looking at Kakashi with wide eyes, unable to even believe the power he could sense radiating off him, doubting even the self-proclaimed god Pain had this kind of power. So this is the power of the 8 gates, a power surpassing the 5 kg themselves. Itachi said, amazed that anyone could reach such a level. Kamui. Kakashi activated his Mangekyou Sharingan, using a now supercharged Kamui on Naruto, sending him somewhere far away and forever out of the Akatsuki's reach. Seeing the task was finally completed, the copy ninja let out a sigh, knowing he's going to be dead in a few moments after opening all 8 gates. And I'll take out as many of these people as possible. Thought Kakashi, knowing if he's going to die taking as many enemies as possible down with him. Itachi, Kisame, a shame that you've both decided to betray the Akatsuki. Said someone, making the 3 look and saw the 6 paths of pain standing on a rooftop while looking down at them, having been sent by Madara and Zetsu to retrieve the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Tell me where the Kyuubi is and I'll kill you all quickly. Said Pain, not seeing Naruto anywhere in sight. Along with the Kyuubi, somewhere where neither you nor Madara will find him, Pain. As even we don't know where he is, only that wherever he is, he's forever out of your reach. Itachi stated, making Pain frown. If that's true, then you 3 shall know true pain before you meet your ends. Pain said as the 6 paths rushed towards them, with the 3 ninja charging them, knowing this was going to be their last fight. Later with Obito. And so ends the Senju's precious will of fire. Obito said, looking at the toad statue Jiraiya, having managed to kill the toad elders he summoned and created an imbalance in the nature energy within him, resulting in him soon turning into a toad before turning to stone. The Uchiha then kicking the statue in the neck, causing the neck to shatter, while the head flew up into the air, before Obito caught it. The twisted and fallen student of the Yondaime looking at the head for a moment of his teacher's own teacher, before dropping it on the ground and crushing it beneath his foot. Where's the Kyuubi, Zetsu? Said Obito as Zetsu rode out of the ground beside him. Unfortunately, we lost the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Also, Nagato's 6 paths of pain were completely obliterated by Kakashi Haddock, who had opened the 8th gate, while having Itachi and Kisame backing him up. But I was able to recover your eye before it turned to ash with the rest of Kakashi. Kakuzu, Hidan, Sasori and Deidara had also fallen, with Kisame killing Kakuzu, while Itachi dealt with Deidara and Sasori. As for the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, he's lost to us, even Kakashi didn't know where his Kamui sent him. Said Zetsu, while handing Obito the container with his other eye in it, but the Uchiha didn't take it. Not wanting to destroy his eye with the anger and annoyance he's feeling at this news, before letting out a sigh of resignation and taking the container. We're leaving, the other villages can deal with what's left of Konoha for us. While we try to figure out a way to salvage what's left of our plans and deal with the traitors. But at least one good thing came out of this. Obito said, looking at his eye, pleased that he'll now have access to the true power of his Mangekyou Sharingan. Earth with Naruto. Meanwhile, Naruto soon began waking up from the genjutsus Kakashi and Itachi used on him, rubbing his head and looking around at where he was. What the hell? Where am I? Some kind of alleyway ooh. Naruto groaned and held his head, grunting as he saw flashes of different people who he instinctively knew were his parents, his godmother, and pervy Sage, who was actually his godfather. Before suddenly Kakashi and Itachi appeared in front of him, surprising Naruto, but before he could say anything, they began speaking. If you're seeing this, then that means you're awake Naruto. Kakashi said, confusing the Uzumaki. This is a time-delayed genjutsu, set to activate after you wake up, given we're both most likely dead by the time you awaken, we left a genjutsu implanted in your mind to help explain things. Said Itachi, surprising Naruto at hearing this, along with confusing him even more at what's going on. Though Naruto was shocked when they began explaining everything to him, who his parents are, the night he became a Jinchuriki, who leaked the information of him containing the Kyuubi to the village, the same person that barred Mikoto, his godmother, from taking him in, and finally the invasion and destruction of Konoha. When the Akatsuki arrived, we knew the village was already lost, so we did what we could to make sure you couldn't be captured. You now have the yin half the Kikbi sealed inside of you, along with a scroll of seals and a scroll with all of Kisame's jutsu in it, in a storage seal on your left shoulder. Well, we implanted our jutsus directly into your mind. I then empowered myself and then used my Kamui to send you somewhere you couldn't be reached. Kakashi concluded. Unfortunately, we also had no guarantee you'd land somewhere safe or if you'd even survive wherever you'd land in the first place. All we could do is hope you'd live and hear this message. Now it's up to you to decide on what to do now, Naruto. Said Itachi before both he and Kakashi vanished, leaving the whiskered blonde to process everything he just heard. Naruto being stunned, devastated, happy, sad, and angry all at once, given everything that just happened and everything he just learned. Those old bastards. Naruto thought, part of his anger being directed at Dan's men Jiraiya. The former for his role in making his life hell, along with keeping his godmother away from him and later having her killed with the rest of the Uchiha clan. And the latter for essentially abandoning him, as while Naruto could understand he had a duty as Konoha's spymaster and couldn't bring a kid with him. It didn't excuse the fact he had no interactions with Naruto his entire life. He never even introduced himself, never made an attempt to show he cared. Naruto thought, as even if Jiraiya couldn't interact with him directly to protect him from his parents' enemies both inside and outside the village, he didn't do anything at all. He could have discreetly left Naruto letters or other things as signs that he cared without letting anyone know it was him. And he could have done it easily, without anyone knowing, given that he was Konoha's spymaster and infiltration expert. Though Naruto soon let out a sigh and got up, knowing that being angry won't fix anything, nor will it help him. All I can do is try and find out what world I ended up in, then try and get settled. Thought Naruto as he exited the alleyway to try and get settled into this new world. Time skip 4 weeks. Just 2 more years, and everyone will get to see the new hottest pro hero's debut. Thought an excited Yu Takeyama, knowing that in 2 years, she'll finally get to become a pro hero, having already gotten her costume to work with her quirk and finalized her hero name, Mount Lady. Yu is a beautiful, voluptuous young woman who has purple eyes with white pupils, with elegantly long eyelashes. She has long, voluminous creamy blonde hair reaching her waist, with 2 shorter strands curled to frame her face, parted slightly to her left. With her currently wearing civilian clothes, consisting of a cream-colored tank top that exposed her midriff and showed a decent amount of cleavage, a purple jacket, white form-fitting pants, and purple boots. But I also need to make sure my debut gets lots of attention, so I'll need to do something that'll get everyone to look at me. You thought, brainstorming ideas, as well she is serious about being a hero and will take her job seriously, she also loves the attention that being a hero will get her. Ooh oh, what if I used my cannon on a villain and then posed? I could say something like pleased to make you ass acquaintance. Thought you, looking at her ass and knew it'd certainly get people's attention, especially with her gigantification quirk. Though Yu was pulled from her brainstorming as she was walking past an abandoned construction site and she spotted a kid inside it, surprising the young woman. What's a kid doing here? Yu wondered, confused as to why this kid was at an empty construction site alone, only to be surprised when he held out his hand and created a blue ball of rotating energy. What kind of quirk is that? Thought Yu, having heard of quirks that some pro heroes had to control a specific element, but not one letting them control pure energy. Meanwhile, Naruto grinned at seeing he was able to finally form the Rasengan with one hand, having wished to learn the jutsu, given how it was his father's signature jutsu, alongside the Hiraishin. But first, having had to train his chakra control, mastering tree walking, water walking, and leaf concentration. As well as some other chakra control exercises from Kakashi, Itachi, and Kisame. All of which helped him with his training and mastering the Rasengan. And now I can finally form it with one hand. thought Naruto, happy he could form a Rasengan, now to see if it can be used to attack. Rasengan. Naruto said, slamming the Rasengan into the partially built structure he's been using as a target to test out how strong his Rasengan is. Smiling proudly and tiredly at seeing the massive hole in it after the attack faded. Yeah. I finally got it down, said Naruto before his exhaustion began catching up on him as he fell back unconscious. Damn. He could probably take out any villain with a move like that. Yu thought in amazement at the power behind the attack. Though her amazement was soon replaced by fear and worry when she noticed that part of the structure became unstable and was starting to fall down right on top of the kid. Rushing forward, Yu managed to grab the kid and pull him out of the way, relieved she was able to get him out of the way before he was crushed. But when she looked at him, Yu became more worried at seeing how unresponsive he was, even shaking him did nothing to wake him up. I better get you to the hospital. Yu stated, picking him up before heading for the hospital to get him looked over. Later. After arriving at the hospital, the boy was admitted into a room with Yu staying by his side the entire time as he was looked over. Learning that he was suffering from malnutrition, sleep deprivation and fatigue. He was obviously training his quirk, but why though? Doesn't he know about the quirk restriction laws, or was that why he was training in such a deserted area, so he wouldn't get caught? Wondered Yu as she looked at Naruto's sleeping form before she looked at the door when it opened, with 3 people walking inside, 2 men and a woman. The first is a tall man with short black hair and somewhat rectangular black eyes. While wearing a tan overcoat and matching hat, underneath which he wears a black suit, a green tie at his neck with matching slacks and dress shoes. The second is slender and tall pale-skinned man with messy, shoulder-length black hair that partially hangs in front of his face and often half-open black eyes. His facial hair is unkempt and his eyes look tired and flat. He was wearing a ragged black outfit that consists of a long-sleeved shirt and matching pants that tuck into his boots. He also wears a utility belt and his signature wrap scarf at all times. And the woman was a tall, curvaceous woman, rivaling Yu in beauty, with sky-blue eyes, which tilted downwards in the center. Framed by a set of rather long eyelashes. She had abundant spiky dark purple hair, which was made up of layers of varying lengths, with the longest ones reaching down below her waist. Her chin-length bangs were split into 3 sections. 2 swept to the sides and 1 over her face, going diagonally down to the left between her eyes. She also had a small beauty mark below her left eye, as well as red painted nails. Her hero costume was very similar to one of a traditional dominatrix. She wore a breastless black leather leotard, similar in style to a corset, over a thin, skin-tight white bodysuit, which accentuated her voluptuous figure. The center strip of her leotard was embellished with red gemstone-like accessories in a vertical pattern, extending from her collar to her midriff. She also wore translucent black thigh-high garter stockings, which were attached to a burgundy utility belt, decorated with gold studs around her hips, a matching pentagonal buckle in its center, and black knee boots. She also had a small red mask outlining her eyes and a handcuff on each wrist. Along with carrying a flogger-style whip. Yama, I'm Detective Naamasa Tsukauchi, I'd like to ask you a few questions about this boy. As there doesn't seem to be any record of him or his quirk. Said Naamasa while motioning to Naruto, given how it seemed he didn't even exist at all, as if he just appeared out of nowhere. Okay, but I don't really know anything about him. In fact, I only stumbled on him while he was training his quirk. But why is she here and who's Scraggy right there? You asked while looking at the woman and man. This the underground pro-hero racer head, he's here to use his quirk to nullify the kids, should he choose to be hostile. And Midnight is here to subdue the boy and knock him out with her quirk. Naamasa answered, with Yu letting out a huff and crossing her arms. Yeah, I'm sure she was eager for the chance to subdue a young and vulnerable boy. Yu taunted, with Midnight smiling wickedly at her. No, I'm simply doing my job. Besides, I'm sure I can leave subduing people to you, Mount Lady. Retorted Midnight while putting emphasis on Mount, making Yu growl lowly. You're so lucky we're in a hospital. Hissed Yu, knowing she couldn't use her quirk here and risk hurting people. Yes we are, so you wouldn't need to go far after you've been punished. Midnight stated while holding up her whip. Ladies behave like pro-heroes, not like the brats I have to teach. Said Eraserhead, not interested in getting caught in the middle of a catfight. Though everyone's attention then turned to Naruto when he began waking up, with a whiskered boy immediately freaking out at not recognizing his location. Ah. Where am I? How'd I get here? Who the hell are you people? Naruto shouted at seeing the 4 adults, 2 of which wearing rather strange clothing. Hey, it's alright, you're safe. You're just in the hospital after I found you passed out from training your quirk. Said Yu gently while helping Naruto calm down a little. Who are you? Naruto asked while looking between the 4 of them. I'm Yama, that's Detective Naamasa and the underground pro-hero racer head. Oh, and that exhibitionist is Midnight, but she's not really important. Introduced you, while adding Midnight offhandedly. And yet everyone knows and adores me. How many people know who you are exactly? Besides your imaginary friends. Midnight replied with her own taunt. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto replied while looking between you and Midnight in confusion, with Namasa walking up to him. Alright Naruto, if it's alright, I'd like to ask you some questions. The most important ones being where did you come from and why were you practicing your quirk out in the open? Questioned Namasa, with the Uzumaki gulping, since this was going to be hard to explain. Okay, where I'm from is kind of hard to believe, but I swear it's true. Said Naruto, before he began explaining that he was from another world and how he ended up on Earth and in Japan, with the four looking at him in disbelief at what they were hearing. Along with showing some of his ninjutsu, like using the transformation to turn into Eraserhead and creating a Rasengan. With Eraserhead trying to use his erasure quirk to erase them, only for nothing to happen. His inability to do so, helping to prove Naruto's story, given how Naruto's chakra seemed more like a hybrid between an emitter-type quirk and transformation-type quirk. Neither of which would be able to resist his quirk's abilities, no matter how powerful they are. This chakra stuff, with what he can do with it, it sounds a lot like the one for all quirk. And from the way he's explained it, chakras pass down through hereditary means. I'm gonna have to inform All Might about this, along with the others that are in the know. Namasa thought, knowing that All Might and the others that know the truth of One for All will have to know about this. Especially, with the new worry that while Eraserhead's quirk didn't work on Naruto, who's to say the quirks like All for One won't have any effect on it. Something that made Namasa glad that All Might was able to kill the villain, despite the injuries he suffered from the said battle. And even if Naruto was immune to such quirks as well, who's to say that a group of villains won't try to use him as a stud to create a new powerful generation of villains. Hey, why's Pink Eye still staring at me? Naruto asked, seeing that Eraserhead was still looking at him, with the sudden question taking a moment to register for them. But when it did, you and Midnight both started laughing at Naruto's nickname, with even Namasa stifling a chuckle, while Eraserhead was annoyed at the new nickname. My eyes turn red when I use my quirk, not pink. Stated Eraserhead. But they're all bloodshot and they turn pink. Are you sure Pink Eye isn't a more fitting name? Questioned Naruto, which only made you and Midnight laugh louder. Okay, we're leaving now. Eraserhead said in annoyance as he exited the room, soon followed by Namasa and Midnight, leaving only Naruto and you. Aren't you going to leave, you? Not that I mind if you stay, I just thought you'd have gone home after bringing me here. Naruto said, while adding the latter part quickly to not offend her. Maybe, but I wanted to make sure you alright first. And now that I know who you are, I'm actually curious to learn more about you Naruto. Replied Yu, finding herself intrigued about Naruto, never having thought she'd meet someone from another world and with powers like his. Oh well, I don't mind tell you anything you want to know. If it's alright, could I ask you about yourself? Said Naruto, also wanting to get to know you better as well, given she did save him. I'd be happy to tell you about myself. Yu said smiling, always happy to talk about herself, with the two soon asking each other questions about the other, while getting to know each other better. But eventually getting late, leading to you having to leave, but promising to come back again. Time skip one day. Hey Naruto. Yu greeted as she entered Naruto's hospital room, surprising the Jinchuriki at seeing her. You're back. Naruto said, not expecting her to visit again. Yeah, I said I'd come back again, didn't I said Yu, surprising Naruto again. Why yeah you did I just thought said Naruto, before stopping what he was going to say. Thought what? Yu asked sitting down beside him. And nothing. It's nothing. Naruto said quickly, only to feel Yu's hand on his shoulder. Naruto, it's okay, you can tell me. Assured Yu, while smiling at him, making Naruto relax and look away. I just thought that you just said that and weren't going to visit again, since you didn't really have to, or need to. Said Naruto, not really used to anyone visiting him or promising to visit him, unless they needed something, not because they simply wanted to. Though Naruto was surprised at feeling Yu sit beside him on the bed and wrap an arm around his shoulder, before looking to see her smiling at him. You're right, I didn't have to or need to, I wanted to. Stated Yu, wanting to visit Naruto, as she feels like he's her responsibility, given how she found him. You wanted to? Naruto asked, not expecting this, with Yu nodding in response. That's right, and I'll keep visiting as long as you want. Yu replied, making Naruto look at her in surprise before he began smiling as well. I'd like that, thank you Yu. Said Naruto, with the future pro-hero hugging him before they began talking like they did yesterday. Time skip one day. Yu, what are pro-heroes exactly? Naruto asked, looking at the young woman, having been curious about what pro-heroes were after hearing about them. Pro-heroes are kind of like freelance police officers and military. Only, they can act in any country or nation without restriction, though we still have to uphold the laws of the country we're in. To become a pro hero, those that have quirks attend heroic schools that teach and train them to use their quirks and fight crime until they're ready to get a hero license to become official pro heroes. Once they become official pro heroes, they can start up their own hero agency and employ numerous other heroes as sidekicks and form teams with other pro heroes. There are also those that still use their quirks for good but aren't official pro heroes. They're called vigilantes since they act outside of the law to get the job done. Explained Yu, much to Naruto's amazement. And you're going to become a pro hero? Questioned Naruto, with Yu nodding proudly. Yep, you're looking at the soon-to-be newest and hottest pro hero, Mount Lady. Yu declared, making Naruto sweat drop. Well, how many other pro heroes are there? Naruto asked, wondering how many pro heroes there are. Dozens, hundreds of them even. But there's one that stands at the very top, he's the best of the best, as well as the main inspiration and reason there's a new age of pro heroes. The number one hero and symbol of peace, All Might. Said Yu, knowing All Might was the greatest hero there is. All Might? Said Naruto, not knowing who that is. He's the greatest and strongest pro hero in the world. He started out in America before eventually returning to Japan, where he rose to become the symbol of peace. His presence alone dropped the crime rate in Japan to below 6%. Yu replied, increasing Naruto's amazement that one man's presence could drop the crime rate that low. Wow, he must be a great hero. Stated Naruto, making Yu laugh slightly. Like I said, he's the best of the best. Said Yu, with Naruto only being able to nod in agreement. Time skipped 3 days. After 5 days in the hospital, Naruto was finally being discharged after recovering from his training, with Yu having arrived not long after he was discharged. The young woman having visited each day, with the two getting know each other better and getting closer as friends. So, where are going to go now? Where were you even staying before I found you? Yu asked, wondering where Naruto planned to go now that he's been discharged from the hospital, along with where he was staying to begin with. I mostly just stayed wherever I could, which I'll probably be doing again, along with keeping up with my training. But I'll probably stay outside of any cities and towns, so people don't think I'm breaking a law and using a quirk in public. Replied Naruto, making Yu frown, not liking the idea of him not having a place to stay and the chance of something happening, like what happened when she first found him. I may actually have a different idea, Naruto, if you're interested. Said Yu, getting the whiskered blonde's attention. What idea? Questioned Naruto, seeing the normally confident future pro hero looked a little nervous. Well, I've been thinking, since we've been getting to know each other, that maybe you'd like to stay with me as my adopted little brother. Yu said, while smiling hesitantly at Naruto, not sure if he'd like the idea of staying with her. You want me to live with you? Said Naruto in disbelief and a little hope, while Yu nodded. Yeah, I mean I'll understand if you don't want to, since we haven't known each other very long and it may be sudden, so if you don't, said Yu, only to be cut off when Naruto hugged her tightly. I'd love to live with you. Said Naruto, smiling happily at Yu, who was surprised he accepted before smiling and hugging him. And I'll be glad to have you, Ataudo. Yu replied, making Naruto's smile widen. Thanks Yu-nichan. Naruto said, while hugging his new adoptive sister. Time skipped 2 years. A little over 2 years have passed since Yu adopted Naruto as her new little brother, with Namasa having helped her with the paperwork and getting Naruto an identity here on Earth. But this also having led to Yu becoming more responsible to be the best older sister she could for Naruto, especially since she had to homeschool him on the world they live in. Along with helping him prepare to enroll in UA High after Naruto expressed interest in becoming a pro hero after learning more about the profession outside of what she initially told him. With the entrance exam only being 10 months away now, well, Yu has also made her official debut at Mount Lady. You really couldn't resist, could you? Naruto asked rhetorically, having seen his sister's debut as a pro hero, with her having interrupted Kamui Wood's battle against a villain, taking the villain down herself, and then showing off her body to be swarmed by the photographers and paparazzi. Hey, I couldn't help myself, it was just a perfect opportunity. Besides, I can't help it if I'm this sexy, and I never heard you complaining about how you're Onichan Looks, Yu said teasingly, before hugging Naruto and holding his head against her breasts, much to his embarrassment, even more so that she's still wearing her hero costume. Her hero costume is being composed of a purple and pale tan colored skin-tight bodysuit, which is accented with orange stripes. The suit appears to have a pair of purple gloves with orange accents on the edge of the cuff. The design is similar for her boots, which are cut off at the thigh in a deep V shape. The suit also has 3 peculiar orange diamond-shaped dots on the purple top that are located under her chest, and she also wears a purple domino mask with horn-like protrusions on the sides. She's doing this on purpose. Thought Naruto, knowing she's still wearing her costume, just to further embarrass him. SST stop, Uni. Naruto said as he quickly substituted with a pillow, making Yu giggle at his reaction. Oh, and I thought you liked cuddling, you certainly enjoyed having me sleep in bed with you. Teased Yu, making Naruto's blush intensify, knowing he liked having Yu sleeping beside him, mostly due to him being scared that it was all just a dream he'd eventually wake up from. Though, he'd also admit to himself, he soon began enjoying Yu sleeping beside him for other reasons as well. What about that kid today, that girl? The one that went against that sludge villain to help the exploding boy? Naruto asked, with Yu nodding at this, remembering the green-haired girl that ran to save that kid with the exploding quirk. She hadn't been able to do much, given she couldn't grow in the small alley without causing damage and risk injuring civilians. Though she was able to shield the crowd after All Might used his Detroit Smash to defeat the villain. Yeah, she's alright, thankfully. But it was reckless of her to rush in like that when she didn't have a quirk, she could have ended up getting herself and that boy hurt or worse. Said Yu, with Naruto nodding since she was right. Maybe, but I would have done the same if it meant I could do something to save someone. Naruto stated, knowing if he'd been in her position, he would have rushed to help as well. I know you would because that's just the kind of person you are, Atauto. Said Yu, while smiling at her brother. Even before what happened to your village, and especially after what happened to it. Yu thought solemnly, having grown to care a lot about Naruto in the couple of years he's been living with her, not wanting her brother to get hurt like that again, not if she could help keep him safe. But I will admit, she was pretty brave in trying to help, she still deserved to be scolded for being reckless. Yu said, with Naruto nodding again at this, knowing Kamui and Death Arms were right to scold her. Yeah, but it was also hypocritical that the exploding kid was then praised for his quirk's power when he couldn't even do anything to escape himself. While she acted more like a hero, not caring about the risk to herself if it meant saving someone. Said Naruto, with Yu nodding in agreement this time, as that had been pretty hypocritical and insincere to that girl. Though I can't really say anything right now. Even if I'm a pro now, I still have a lot to learn before I can really call myself a hero. Thought Yu, knowing even if she's officially a pro hero, she still has a lot to learn. Especially given she's pretty much useless in situations where her gigantification quirk would get in the way more than help. Something that she hopes to eventually rectify by looking into ways to fight without her quirk should she ever need to do hero work in confined spaces. What about you, Naruto? Are you excited for the entrance exam? Yu asked while smiling at him, with Naruto nodding with his own smile. Yeah, but I'm also nervous. I don't want to mess it up and make a mistake or reveal too much about what I can do. Replied Naruto, knowing that while he officially has a highly versatile energy-based quirk, he still has to be careful with what he reveals. Don't worry, you're going to do great. Trust me, Naruto, you have the potential to be a great hero. Yu said confidently, believing her brother would become a great hero one day. Thanks Yu-nichan, for everything, really. I think I'm gonna turn in, good night Onichan. Naruto said, thankful for everything Yu's done for him. Yu nodded and smiled at him as he headed to his room before her cell phone rang, with the pro hero pulling it out and saw it was Nezu, the principal of UA High. Principal Nezu. Were you able to do it? Yu asked eagerly, hoping this is about what she had asked him about before. It was difficult due to how recent your debut as a pro hero is, but given your brother will be attending this year with his energy-based quirk, I see no harm in having you join the staff here at UA as an assistant teacher for the hero course. That is, if Naruto passes the entrance exam. As it would help him if there was a familiar face. Plus, it'll help your own career as a pro hero by teaching the next generation. Replied Nezu, much to Yu's happiness that she'll be able to work at UA and help teach her brother and all the other students. Thank you, Principal Nezu, I promise I won't let you down. Yu said before hanging up, knowing she'll do her best to prove she could help the students become pro heroes, even if she's only just become one herself. Not to mention, this'll give me so many more opportunities to tease my cute little brother. Yu thought, while giggling excitedly before she headed to her room and called it a night herself. It's much bigger than I imagined. Naruto thought as he stood outside of UA, looking at the hero school in amazement. In the past 10 months, he's been training non-stop, wanting to make sure he did his best in the entrance exam. Only stopping when he couldn't go any further or when Yu made him stop, so he didn't overwork himself too much. But now, it was finally the day of the entrance exam, and Naruto would admit he's still feeling nervous about it, but knows he'll do his best to pass the exam. Though before he could enter the school, Naruto stopped when he spotted a familiar person running up, recognizing her as the girl from the sludge villain incident. That's the girl, I think her name's Izumi. Yeah, Izumi Midoriya. Thought Naruto as he looked at Izumi, now getting a better look at her than from on the news. Seeing she was somewhat short for her age, with pale skin, long, messy dark green hair that went down to the middle of her back, and dark green eyes that are the same color as her hair, along with them being wide open, giving her an innocent appearance. with her attire consisting of a plain black Gakurin uniform with yellow buttons and white sneakers. And to his embarrassment, Naruto could tell she had a lean and toned figure, along with CC cup breasts. Thanks to all the teasing from his sister. She's kind of cute. Naruto thought before blushing lightly and quickly shoving those thoughts to the back of his mind. Meanwhile, Izumi panted while relieved that she was finally at UA. Made it just in time. Izumi stated, having been worried, she wouldn't have been able to make it in time to take the entrance exam. Unfortunately, this also meant she didn't have time to test out her quirk. I was so worried about missing the exam, I didn't have a chance to test out my new power. Thought Izumi before covering her mouth at remembering having to swallow All Might's hair in order to inherit One for All. I may have swallowed the hair, but I don't feel like anything great has happening to me, yet. Said Izumi with a deadpan expression, having expected to feel something when she gained All Might's quirk, a rush of energy, and new strength, something to show she now had it. The only confirmation being from All Might that she did in fact now possess his quirk. Stupid Deku. Tensing at the familiar nickname and voice, Izumi turned and saw her childhood friend bully, Katsuki Bakugo. Katsuki is a young man of average height with a slim, muscular build and a fair skin tone. He has short, spiky ash blonde hair with choppy bangs that hang over his eyebrows. His eyes are sharp and bright red in color. While wearing the same black Gakurin uniform as herself, with the addition of a pale yellow scarf. Hakken. Izumi said, freaking out at seeing him again. Get out of my way now, before I set you on fire. Growled Bakugo, only making Izumi freak out even more. Oh hey, good morning. Let's just both do our best out there, okay? Good luck. Izumi said quickly, with Bakugo merely walking past her and towards the school, surprising her since he'd usually throw a remark at her for being here. I think that's the kid who withstood the sludge villain. His name's Katsuki Bakugo, right? Someone said as a few recognized who Bakugo was. Yeah, he's the real deal. Replied another teen. Ever since that day, Kakken's been taking it easy on me, well easier. Guess I'm just scared out of habit. Izumi thought, given how Bakugo never did anything besides throw some insults and scathing remarks at her due to her, now former, quirkless status. Shaking her head at this, Izumi looked at the school in determination, knowing she's not defenseless anymore, with all the work she put into inherit One for All. And she refused to let All Might down for having faith in her, wanting to show everyone that she can be a hero. Only to yelp when she tripped over herself and began falling to the ground, but before she could hit the ground, Izumi found herself suddenly frozen in midair. Hey. Are you okay? Someone, a girl, asked as Izumi flailed slightly at floating in the air, making the girl laugh a little before grabbing her wrist and set the greenet back on the ground. With Izumi now getting a look at the other girl, who apparently stopped her fall. She was a short girl with a slender yet curvy figure. She is fair-skinned with a perpetual blush on her cheeks. Her eyes are large and round, that were warm brown color, with rather thick upper eyelashes, two longer and more prominent ones protruding outwards on either side and fewer but more individually pronounced lower eyelashes. She had shoulder-length hair that was about the same color as her eyes, along with being bobbed and curved inwards at the ends, two longer clumps taking the same shape on either side of her face, and short bangs that reach roughly a quarter of the way down her forehead. Izumi also saw on the top inner segment of each of her fingers, she has a small pink pad, somewhat resembling the toe of a cat or a dog's paw, which she guessed were related to her quirk. With her wearing a maroon coat, a pink scarf, a short dark blue skirt, black tights, and brown slip-on shoes. I stopped you with my quirk. I'm sorry, I didn't ask first. But I figured you wouldn't mind me catching you. Said the girl, with Izumi shaking off her surprise. It's fine, you don't have to apologize, since you did help me. Izumi replied, with the girl smiling and nodding. Thanks. Though isn't this all, like, way nerve-wracking? Asked the girl, with Izumi nodding in agreement at this, since it is nerve-wracking to really be here and not knowing what they'll be doing for the entrance exam. It really is, but it's also pretty exciting to really be here after all this time. Stated Izumi, also excited that she's gotten the chance to enter UA. Yeah, it is. Well, guess I'll see you inside. Bye. The girl replied before heading inside the school, with the greenet waving at her, and was prepared to head inside as well. Hey, you're that girl from the sludge villain incident. Izumi, right. Said Naruto as he walked up to Izumi, making the girl freeze and look at him with wide eyes, not expecting a boy to come up and talk to her, let alone know her name. Izumi stuttered, not used to talking to boys, let alone them talking to her. It was really brave what you did, running in to save that other kid, even if it was dangerous. Though my sister and I agreed that it was also a little reckless, but also know that I would have done the same if I was in your position. Naruto added. What? Izumi said nervously, making Naruto scratch the back of his head sheepishly, now seeing he was making her uncomfortable. Sorry if I'm making you uncomfortable or if you don't like talking about the sludge villain incident. But my sister was one of the heroes on the scene there when it happened and she mentioned you," said Naruto, pulling Izumi out of her stupor at hearing his sister was a hero that had been there. It's FF5 fine. But your sister was there and she's a pro hero. Does that mean Mount Lady is your sister? Izumi asked, given from what she remembered, Mount Lady was the only female hero present and young enough to be his sister. Yeah, she is. I'm Naruto Uzumaki by the way. Introduced Naruto. I'm Izumi Midoriya. And that's pretty cool that Mount Lady is your sister. I mean, All Might is my favorite hero ever since I first saw him. But I can't help but admire female heroes like Mount Lady and Midnight. They're both just so strong, beautiful, confident, and have such amazing quirks they can use to help people," said Izumi before some of her insecurities from her former quirkless status began coming up. Even while she now had a quirk, it was All Might's quirk, and even with her training these past 10 months, Izumi wasn't sure if she'd be able to use it like he did. Along with how she'd need to be the best she could be, not only to catch up with the other students who have had years to train their quirks, but also so she wouldn't let All Might down in choosing her as his successor. Before she yelped when Naruto flicked her on the forehead, making her look at him only to see the Uzumaki smiling at her. "Hey, don't worry about it. Yeah, Nichan and Midnight are both great heroes and All Might's the best in the world, but I'm sure you'll be a great hero as well. After all, you've already proven it with your actions against that sludge villain. Just keep being yourself and you'll be a great hero," Naruto stated, with Izumi looking at him with wide eyes, feeling stunned and flustered at his words. As he's the second person since All Might that told her she could become a hero, and a great one at that. "Now, we better head inside before we miss the start of the entrance exam announcements," said Naruto before turning to head inside, with Izumi running beside him. "Alright," Izumi replied while nodding in agreement as they both entered the school before finding the room where the announcements for the entrance exam would be held. Though when they went to find their seats, Izumi realized what had just happened. "I just talked to a boy," Izumi thought, realizing she actually talked to a boy. She didn't really count Bakugo, who was more like an intimidating older brother that had a tendency to show her tough love. "I'm really glad Ka-san and Aunt Mitsuki helped clear up the misunderstanding when I tried helping Kakin out of the water," thought Izumi, given Bakugo's mother was the only one who could really intimidate him and make him listen to reason, and while her own mother was usually too nice to get angry, the few times that she does can be rather scary. It wasn't long before all the candidates were seated with the lights coming on, showing someone standing on a stage in front of a large screen. With some of the candidates recognizing him as the pro hero, Present Mick. Present Mick is a tall, slim man with long blonde hair, which he wears spiked upwards in a huge tuft behind his head, and a small blonde mustache. He has rectangular eyes with concentric greenish-yellow pupils. His hero costume consists of a black jacket with a very tall collar, upturned and complete with studs, and matching black pants and knee-high boots. He sports tan shoulder pads and a red belt and elbow pads, all studded, and black fingerless gloves. His neck is always obscured by a directional speaker which he uses with his quirk. He always wears a pair of headphones with the word Hage written on the headband and a pair of orange-tinted shades. "What's up, UA candidates? Thanks for tuning in to me, your school DJ. Come on and lem hear ya," Present Mick said before holding a hand to his ear to hear the students, only to be met with silence. "Keeping it mellow, huh? That's fine, I'll skip straight to the main show. Let's talk about how this practical exam is gonna go down, okay? Are you ready?" "Yeah," Present Mick said, only to be met with silence again. "Oh my goodness, it's the voice hero. Present Mick. So cool. I listen to his radio show every day of the week. It's so crazy nuts that all the UA teachers are pro heroes," Izumi muttered in excitement. "Will you shut up?" Bakugo said in annoyance. "Like your application said, today you rockin' boys and girls will be out there conducting 10-minute mock battles in super hip urban settings. Gird your loins, my friends," said Present Mick as the screen behind him lit up to start showing the students what they'll have to do. "After I drop the mic here, you'll need head to your specified battle center, sound good?" "Okay," Present Mick said, only to be met with silence once again. "Battle center C," Naruto thought, seeing which center he'll be in, while wondering which one Izumi will be in. "They're splitting us up, so we can't work with any of our friend," Bakugo stated upon seeing he was in Battle Center A and Izumi was in Battle Center B. "Yeah, our examinee numbers are one after the other, but we're assigned different battle centers," said Izumi. "Get your eyes off my damn card. And good luck finding someone else to slow down, cause it won't be me," retorted Bakugo, with a greenette smiling nervously. Okay, let's check out your targets. There are 3 types of foe villains in every battle center. You'll earn points based on their level of difficulty, so better choose wisely. Your goal in this trial is to use your quirk to raise your score by shredding these faux villains, like a mid-song guitar solo. But check it. Make your keeping things heroic. Attacking other examines is a UA no-no, you dig? Said President Mick before someone raised their hand. Excuse me, sir, but I have a question. One of the candidates said. Hit me. President Mick said, pointing at them as a light shined down on the candidate. The candidate was a relatively tall and muscular young man with a wide frame. He has short dark blue hair, flattened neatly down and parted on the right side of his head, a small patch completely shaved near the base of his head, and rather square eyes which matched the notably pointed shape of his jaw. While wearing black shoes, dark blue pants, a white button-up shirt, a blue tie, and a tan suit jacket. On the printout, you've listed 4 types of villains. Not 3. With all respect, if this is an error on official UA materials, it is shameful. We are exemplary students. We expect the best from Japan's most notable school. A mistake such as this won't do. Said the student before turning and pointing at Izumi. Additionally, you with the unkempt hair. You've been muttering this entire time. Stop that. If you can't bother to take this seriously, leave. You're distracting the rest of us. The student said, making Izumi yelp before covering her mouth. Sorry. Muttered Izumi as some students laughed at her. That guy just made it onto my list. Thought Naruto, knowing he'll be pranking that guy the first chance he gets for that. Alright, examinee number 7111. Thanks for calling in with your request. The 4th villain type is worth 0 points. That guy's just an obstacle we'll be throwing in your way. There's one in every battle center. Think of it as a hurdle you should try to avoid. It's not that it can't be beaten, but there's kinda no point. I recommend my listeners try to ignore it and focus on the ones top in the charts. Said President Mick, given the 0-pointer was only meant to be an obstacle, not actually confronted. Thank you very much. Please, continue. The student said, while bowing before sitting back down. It's like one big video game. Thought Naruto, seeing it was like a video game, taking out enemies to get points while avoiding ones that are too strong. Or in this case, aren't worth anything. That's all I got for you today. I'll sign off with a little present, a sample of our school motto. As General Napoleon Bonaparte once laid down, a true hero is one who overcomes life's misfortunes. Now that's a tasty soundbite. You ready to go beyond? Let's hear a plus ultra. Good luck. Hope you practiced hitting more than just books. Said President Mick. Later. After President Mick dismissed all the candidates, they'd all headed for their battle center, with Naruto standing outside of Battle Center C with the other candidates that were assigned here. All of them standing ready for the gates to open, along with others being amazed at the sheer size of the battle centers. Right, let's start. President Mick announced from the top of a wall, getting everyone's attention, having expected a countdown. That moving. There are no countdowns in real battles. Run, listeners. You're wasting airtime here. Said President Mick, surprising candidates that they were just supposed to go, before immediately doing just that as they rushed into the battle centers. With Naruto being able to run ahead of the other candidates just as robots began appearing, with him holding out his hands as chakra chains shot out of them. The chains stabbing through two-pointers before ripping them apart, followed by Naruto swinging them at a 3-pointer. Wrapping the chakra chains around it before lifting it into the air and slamming it back down where it exploded. While around him, the other candidates were taking down as many robots as they could, with some even arguing over robots they were targeting being destroyed before they could get them. Other students were simply running around trying to find more robots in less crowded areas. Which caused them to be unaware of their surroundings, as a 3-pointer burst out of a wall and would have crushed them. If not for Naruto's chains pulling them out of the way, while stabbing into the 3-pointer and ripping it apart. Focus on what's around you, don't just run around trying to find villains to fight. Said Naruto, with the candidates nodding before being more careful in their search. This continuing on as Naruto used his chains to destroy robots, along with saving the other candidates if they were in trouble. Only for them all to stop when the ground began shaking, followed by an eruption of smoke, before everyone was shocked when the 0-pointer appeared. Holy shit. Naruto thought in shock, not expecting the 0-pointer to be that huge, seeing it could even rival Gamabunta in sheer size. Though, while the other candidates ran away from the 0-pointer, both due to it not being worth any points, as well as knowing they couldn't take down something that big. Naruto, however, stood his ground since even if they ran from the 0-pointer, it'd still come after them and hurt the other candidates. So, the only way to avoid it was to take it down. Leading to Naruto jumping up when the 0-pointer slammed its hand down where he was standing before landing on its arm and began running up the robot's body. Jumping up onto a rooftop when it tried grabbing hold of him, with the Uzumaki forming a Rasengan in his hand while waiting for the right moment. When the zero-pointer raised its hand to try and crush him again, Naruto shot a chain out of his hand that wrapped around its wrist before jumping down and swinging through the air. Releasing at the height of his swing and sending him flying straight towards the zero-pointer's head. All the while, Naruto began channeling more and more chakra into his Rasengan, causing it to start growing bigger. "Big Bull Rasengan," shouted Naruto, slamming the Rasengan into the zero-pointer's face, with the force of the blow knocking the robot back as its head caved in before soon exploding, much to the other candidate's shock and amazement that he actually took the zero-pointer down. With judges. Meanwhile, the teachers were watching the battle centers, seeing how the students were performing, with Mount Lady and All Might paying extra attention to Naruto, along with Izumi in All Might's case. With the symbol of peace taking note of Naruto's abilities and power behind his attack against the zero-pointer. Naomasa was right, that was like seeing one of my smashes in energy form. The power behind it really is similar to One for All, being able to put that much energy into one attack. All Might thought, remembering what Naomasa told him about Naruto's abilities, seeing he was right to compare it to One for All. "Way to go, Naruto. I knew you could do it," thought Mount Lady while smiling proudly at her brother, knowing why he took down the zero-pointer, despite knowing it wouldn't earn him any points. It made her proud that he'd risk himself to take down such a huge villain if it meant protecting others. The judges then turned their attention to Battle Center B, only to be amazed when they saw Izumi jump into the air and punch the zero-pointer. Not only destroying it, but also saving another candidate that had been trapped. Making All Might smile proudly at his successor upon seeing her tap into One for All for the first time and enough of it to destroy the zero-pointer. "Way to go, kid, you've proven again why you were worthy of my quirk. The noblest thing a hero can do is self-sacrifice for the sake of others," All Might thought, knowing he couldn't have found a better torchbearer. While Mount Lady looked at Izumi in surprise and amazement, like the others, especially since she also recognized her as well. "Wait a minute, that's that girl from the sludge villain incident. But I thought she didn't have a quirk, or is she a late bloomer that recently awoke it?" Mount Lady wondered, since that would explain why she didn't use it against the sludge villain and why she didn't seem to have a lot of control over it. If the way her legs and right arm were flailing were any indication, she likely wasn't able to train it for very long and end up breaking her limbs. "I'm really glad that recovery girl is on standby," thought Mount Lady, knowing she'll be able to heal her limbs in a few seconds. But Naruto. Naruto looked over the remains of the zero-pointer, glad to see it wouldn't be able to cause any more destruction or hurt any of the other candidates. "Time should be almost up by now. I need to hurry and see how many robots are left," thought Naruto before rushing off to find more robots to take care of and earn some last-minute points. With it not being long before President Mick announced that the exam was over, with recovery girl soon coming by and healing any candidates that had been seriously injured by the robots. While Naruto just hoped he was able to earn enough points to pass and join UA. Time skip 1 week. Where's Yunichan? She's usually home by now. Naruto thought while wondering where his sister was, having noticed that she hasn't been home a lot recently, making him worried if she was alright or if she's just been busy. It's been a week since the entrance exam, with Naruto becoming more and more worried with each passing day he didn't get any news, making him believe he failed. Though he hoped that it was simply taking a long time for him to get any news, whether he passed or failed. Naruto was pulled from his thoughts when he heard a knock at the door, with him getting up and answering it, seeing a mailman. "Package for Naruto Uzumaki," they said, with Naruto seeing it was a letter with a UA stamp on it, making his eyes widen before he quickly took it. "Thank you," said Naruto before closing the door and sat back down. Looking at the letter for a moment before opening it, only to be confused when a metal disc fell out rather than a letter. Before he was surprised when it lit up and suddenly a holographic screen showing his sister appeared. "Hello Oto, it's your favorite Onichan," said Mount Lady while smiling at him. "You're my only Onichan," Naruto muttered with a small smile and light chuckle, though he was confused as to what she's doing and what this thing was. "I'm sure you must be wondering what this thing is and why I'm here in hologram form. Well, before that, let me be first to say, congratulations Naruto. You passed the entrance exam. You are now part of the Hero Academia. Not only that, but you got one of the highest scores, not only for the amount of villains you defeated, but also rescue points for protecting and saving your fellow students. This was kept secret in order to push the students to perform true acts of selflessness and heroism, rather than only doing so for points. And you did just that Itato, and I couldn't be prouder of you, so congratulations Naruto," Mount Lady said while smiling brightly, with Naruto being surprised and happy to hear that he'd passed. "And even better news, you are now looking at the new assistant teacher for the hero course at UA. Which is also why I haven't been around recently, as I've been learning everything I'll need to help teach you and your classmates. So, see you in class Naruto," said Mount Lady while waving before the hologram vanished, with a whiskered blonde being surprised at hearing that Yu's going to be an assistant teacher. On one hand, he's happy to get the chance to have his sister with him at UA, but on the other hand, his teasing older sister is going to be with him at UA. I'm not sure if I should be happy or concerned, thought Naruto, knowing being an assistant teacher won't prevent Yu from doing her usual teasing. Letting out a sigh, Naruto headed for his room, deciding to worry about it when classes begin. UA. Meanwhile, back at UA, all the teachers were looking over the recordings of the entrance exam, with all of them taking notice of the points that the students had earned. Seeing that out of all the students, Naruto Uzumaki, Izumi Midoriya and Ichako Uraraka were the ones to earn the most rescue points. Something that impressed the teachers at seeing how even without knowing they were earning points, they still risked themselves to help their fellow students, along with Ichako, having tried giving Izumi some of her own points. All while one teacher was hanging in the back, with it being Eraserhead, Akashoda Izawa, who looked at the scored end videos with a seemingly unimpressed expression. Time skip. UA High. It wasn't long before April started, which also meant the start of the academic year at UA High, with Naruto having gotten changed into his uniform and headed for the school. Having learned he would be in Class 1A, along with 19 other students. That's a really big door. Naruto thought upon seeing how big the door was for Class 1A, while wondering if any of the students had quirks that made them bigger, like his sisters, or if one of the teachers were giant themselves. Class 101, come on, where is it? Hearing the familiar voice, Naruto looked and saw Izumi running down the hallway, looking at the doors. Hey Izumi. If you're looking for 1A, it's right here, said Naruto while waving at the greenet, surprising Izumi at seeing him arriving as well, before she was relieved to see Class 1A, only to be shocked at the size of the door. Man, this thing is huge. Are there giants here? Said Izumi, not expecting the door to be this big. Maybe some of the students have quirks that let them grow, or one of our teachers is really big, Naruto said, making Izumi blush in embarrassment, especially since she had known that All Might was going to be a teacher here as well. So it'd make sense that the door would have to be bigger to accommodate his hero form's appearance. Sliding the door open, the two entered the classroom and were immediately met by someone talking. Take your feet off of that desk, now. Someone said, who Naruto and Izumi recognized from the entrance exam as the student who singled out the greenet for talking. Huh? Said Bakugo, smirking at him while not moving his feet off the desk. It's the first day and you're already disrespecting this academy by scuffing school property, you cretin, said the student in annoyance. You're kidding me, right? Your old school put a stick up your ass. Or were you born with it? Bakugo taunted, much to his indignation before taking a breath. Let's start over. I'm Tenya Ida from the Same Private Academy. Tenya introduced. Same, huh? So you must think you're better than me. I'm gonna have fun tearing you a new one. Bakugo said wickedly, making Tenya gasp at the trash talk. Yeesh, it's like if Sasuke and Kiba had a baby and now that image will be haunting my nightmares. Naruto thought, shivering, while seeing that Bakugo's attitude seemed to be a mix of Sasuke's and Kiba's. Though, Naruto also mentally put Bakugo on his prank list as well. Since given from what he's seen so far, he'll definitely have some great reactions from being on the receiving end of them. You would threaten me? Your own classmate? Are you sure you're in the right place? Said Tenya, not believing how casually Bakugo would threaten him, with the explosive quirk user merely laughed before they caught sight of Naruto and Izumi standing at the door. Huh? It's her. Tenya said, remembering how Izumi took down the zero-pointer with one hit. Hi. Izumi said nervously at all eyes being on her like this. Good morning. My name is Tenya Ida Fro, Tenya said while walking up to them. Yeah, we heard you, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Introduced Naruto. I'm Izumi Midoriya. It's super nice to meet you. Izumi said. Midoriya. You realized that there was something more to the practical exam, didn't you? Stated Tenya, given how she was able to pass despite not earning a single point. Huh? Said Izumi, blinking in confusion at this. You must be very perceptive. And I completely misjudged you, I admit. As a student, you're far superior to me. Tenya said, while looking as if it physically pained him to admit it, while Izumi sweat dropped at this. What's he talking about? Naruto asked while leaning into Izumi, confused at what he was talking about. During the entrance exam, I kind of punched a zero-pointer to protect another student and it got me rescue points, which no one knew about. Which helped me pass the exam. Replied Izumi. Oh, you got those too. I learned about them after I passed, given I took out the zero-pointer to make sure it couldn't hurt anyone. Along with protecting some of the candidates if they were in danger. Naruto said, making Izumi looking at him in surprise that he took out his zero-pointer as well, while Tenya looked at him with wide eyes. Why you were able to learn this as well? Tenya asked, wondering how they could have realized the other objective of the exam. No, I helped them because it was the right thing to do, I didn't know anything about getting other points for it. Stated Naruto, with Izumi nodding in agreement. Yeah, my body just moved to help and save that girl. Izumi added, which only further shocked Tenya that they weren't even aware they'd get points for saving others, and yet they did it anyway. Before he began thinking about it and realized why these rescue points weren't known, they were training to be heroes. Would it be truly heroic to save someone if it was just for something like winning points? Hey. I recognize that messy hair. Falling girl. Said a familiar voice, making Izumi turn, only to be surprised when she saw the girl that she saved and who tried giving her some of her points. Oh hi, nice to see you again. Izumi said, smiling at the girl. You too, we never were properly introduced, I'm Ichako Uraraka, nice to meet you. Who are you two? Ichako said, while looking at Naruto and Tenya. I'm Izumi Midoriya, this is Naruto Uzumaki and Tenya Ida. Introduced Izumi, with Naruto and Tenya nodding to her. Nice to meet you all. What do you think we're doing today, besides orientation? I wonder what our teachers are like. I can't wait to meet everybody. Said Ichako, excited to meet her new classmates, along with who their teachers will be. If you're just here to make friends, then you can pack up your stuff now. The sudden voice made them stiffen, with Ichako slowly turning around as they saw Aizawa lying on the ground in a yellow sleeping bag. Welcome to UA's hero course. Aizawa said boredly, while unzipping his sleeping bag a little to take a drink. What is that thing? Izumi, Ichako, and Tenya thought, freaking out at what the thing was. Pink eye. Said Naruto, recognizing who it was, much to Aizawa's annoyance as he stood up and unzipped his sleeping bag. Oh great, you again. Aizawa stated, annoyed at hearing that nickname again, especially after Midnight told Present Mick about it. Nice to see you too, Pink eye. Or maybe I should call you Cocoon Guy with that sleeping bag. I'm also guessing you're a teacher here. Replied Naruto grinning, while Aizawa's eye twitched at another nickname. I'm not going to like you, very much. And yes, hello, I'm Shota Aizawa, your teacher. Said Aizawa before addressing his class, much to their shock that this was their teacher. Wah, how dare you? You can't refer to a teacher with such derogatory nicknames, let alone one who is also a pro hero. Not only will he be the one teaching us to become pro heroes ourselves, but he is our senior in every way and must be treated with respect. Tenya said while looking at Naruto for how he referred to Aizawa, with the whiskered blonde looked at him with a raised brow. Yeah, he's definitely getting pranked. Thought Naruto, mostly because he can tell he could get some great reactions out of him as well. Don't forget me. I'm Yu Takeyama, your assistant teacher. Said Mount Lady as she entered the classroom, surprising the students at her arrival and that she's going to be an assistant teacher. Only to be further shocked when she then proceeded to glomp Naruto and hold him tightly against her breasts. I'm also this adorable little guy's amazing big sister. And I'm so proud of you for doing your best in the entrance exam. Mount Lady teased, much to Naruto's embarrassment. They're really close for siblings. Izumi thought, with similar thoughts being had by some of the other students at seeing how close Naruto and Mount Lady were. While others were thinking about what a lucky bastard Naruto is. Alright, settle down all of you. That includes you, Mount Lady. Aizawa said, wanting to get started without any further interruptions. Right, let's get to it. Put these on and head outside. Said Aizawa while pulling out a PE uniform, much to everyone's confusion. Later. After everyone got changed into their PE uniforms, they headed outside, where Aizawa and Mount Lady were waiting for them. Good, now that you're all here, we can begin the quirk apprehension test. Aizawa stated, shocking the students that they'll be taking a quirk apprehension test on the first day. But what about orientation? We're gonna miss it. Ichako said, given they'd be learning more about the school and what they'll be doing. If you really want to make the big leagues, you can't waste time on pointless ceremonies. Retorted Aizawa. Here at UA, we're not tethered to traditions. That means that I get to run my class however I see fit. Aizawa added while looking at them all, making some of the students feel uncomfortable at this knowledge. You've been taking standardized tests most of your lives. But you never got to use your quirks in physical exams before. The country's still trying to pretend we're all created equal by not letting those with the most power excel. It's not rational and one day, the Ministry of Education will learn. Aizawa said, looking at all of them before turning to Bakugo. Bakugo, you managed to get the most points on the entrance exam. What was your farthest distance throw with a softball when you were in middle school? Questioned Aizawa, with Bakugo thinking it over to remember. 67 meters, I think. Bakugo replied, with Aizawa nodding at this. Right. Try doing it with your quirk. Aizawa stated, making Bakugo smirk before he went and stood in the circle. Anything goes, just stay in the circle. Go on. You're wasting our time. Said Aizawa. Alright, man, you asked for it. Said Bakugo, stretching before picking up the ball. When he threw the ball, Bakugo set off an explosion that sent the ball flying far out into the distance, much to the shock of several students. All of you need to know your maximum capabilities. It's the most rational way of figuring out your potential as a pro hero. Aizawa explained while showing the distance of Bakugo's throw, with it being 705.2 meters. But some of the students now being excited at the chance to use their quirks and were eager to go themselves, all of them believing it looked fun, which didn't amuse Aizawa. "So this looks fun, huh?" questioned Aizawa, which silenced everyone. "You have 3 years here to become a hero. You think it's all gonna be games and playtime? Idiots. Today, you'll compete in 8 physical tests to gauge your potential. Whoever comes in last has none and will be expelled immediately," Aizawa revealed, much to the students' shock and worry. But All Might. Meanwhile, All Might was looking over the different teachers and rules for UA before he starts teaching himself. "Aw crap, she got Aizawa. Midori is gonna be singled out from the start," All Might muttered upon seeing Izumi's teacher was Aizawa, knowing she'll have a tough time with him as her teacher. "We never did get along either, and Aizawa hates heroes that tend to be in the spotlight. Like me, and the kind of hero the kid wants to become," All Might thought, knowing he and the underground hero didn't get along with their conflicting personalities. And he doubts it'll get any better, depending on how Izumi's first day goes. Later PE grounds. Back with Class 1A, the students were doing well on the tests, for the most part, with their quirks helping them more than others on certain tests. While Naruto was being able to succeed in all the tests thanks to the versatility of his energy quirk. Izumi, though, was having difficulty with the tests due to her inability to control One for All, yet. Something Naruto noticed before going over to check on her and see if she'll be alright. "Hey Izumi, are you alright? I just noticed. You don't seem to be using your quirk," said Naruto as Izumi got up from the sandbox for the standing long jump. I'm fine, I can't really control my quirk. It's either at 0 or 100 when I do use it. When I used it against the 0 pointer, I broke my arm from punching it in my legs when I jumped. It's actually kind of like your quirk," Izumi muttered before looking at Naruto in realization, having seen how his quirk worked, making him stronger, faster, more durable, and more agile. "Just like One for All," thought Izumi, seeing how similar Naruto's quirk was to One for All when All Might uses it. "Hey Naruto, how exactly do you use your quirk? As it looks like you're channeling a large amount of energy into your limbs during the tests, but nothing happened and you weren't injured. How do you use it?" Izumi asked, wanting to know how he can use his quirk without hurting himself. "Well, the energy made from my quirk, or chakra, which is the official name of my quirk. It circulates throughout my entire body, spreading it evenly throughout me. So I'm not channeling all my energy into a single part of my body, which would result in it breaking from the strain and pressure," explained Naruto, much to Izumi's shock as she looked at him with wide eyes. "He spreads the energy throughout his entire body, rather than focusing it all into a single location. That means he's not only enhancing himself all the time, but it allows his entire body to become used to having that kind of power circulating through it. Making it so that when he channels more energy to certain part of his body, it'll be able to handle the power," Izumi thought as an idea began forming in her mind on how she can start using One for All. "Naruto, do you think you'd be able to help me with training my quirk? If I pass, that is," said Izumi, knowing she's in last place and will end up getting expelled if she doesn't do something. "Yeah, I can help you, whether you pass or not. But I have faith in you Izumi, I know you're going to pass despite the odds," Naruto replied while smiling at the greenette, much to her shock. "He believes I'll pass," thought Izumi as a blush formed on her face, along with a warm sensation in her chest. Meanwhile, Mount Lady was getting to know her students better, given she'd be assisting them in the more practical exams. Which is also why she joined Aizawa on this, as opposed to letting him handle it himself. Along with taking the chance to get to know her students in Class 1A early. Making sure to learn all their names, their quirks and their personalities in order to better work and connect with them in the future. It wasn't long before they went on to the next test, the ball toss, with it being Achako's turn next as she used her quirk, Zero Gravity, to take away the ball's gravity, sending it flying into orbit. Much to everyone's shock when her score was infinity. Well, Izumi was nervous as it was her turn now, knowing she needs to get a good score on this or she's finished. "If Midoriya doesn't shape up soon, she'll be the one going home," stated Tenya, wondering why Izumi wasn't using her quirk. "Yeah, why hasn't she used her quirk yet? She'd have blown past all of us," Achako said, given if she could take out the large 0-pointer, these tests should be easy for her. "What are you talking about? She doesn't have a quirk and of course she'd be the one going home," said Bakugo, knowing for a fact Izumi doesn't have a quirk. "She has a quirk. We saw her use it," Tenya said, confused by that statement as they clearly saw she has a quirk. "She took out the 0-pointer with one hit with it," It was really amazing, seeing her jump up and punch it right in the face. Revealed Ichako. Agreed, it's one of the most powerful quirks I've ever seen. But it also seems that it hurts her whenever she uses it, perhaps she's saving it for the last test, or only using it where it's really effective. Added Tenya, making Bakugo growl angrily at the fact Izumi has apparently been lying this entire time about having a quirk, a really powerful one at that. Yeah, she actually asked me for advice earlier on how I can control my quirk, since ours seem to be similar. She must have just recently unlocked it, so that'd explain her lack of control. Naruto said, getting their attention, before another of the students joined the conversation. The student was a fairly tall teenage girl with a rather mature physique, considering her age. She has long black hair that is normally tied into a spiky ponytail, with a large strand hanging on the right side of her face, and onyx eyes that point slightly inwards, which seem to resemble a cat. Momo Yaoi Rozu, her quirk is creation. Mount Lady thought while looking at Momo. But that shouldn't be possible. A person usually unlocks their quirk by the time they're 4 years old. If they don't unlock it then, and still don't show signs of having a quirk the more time passes, then it's unlikely they'll ever awaken one. Said Momo. Well, there are cases of late bloomers, with it simply taking longer than most for some people to awaken their quirks. Naruto stated, with his sister nodding in agreement. He's right, as there was a case of a man awakening his quirk and he was in his early 40s when he did. So it's likely Izumi simply needed more time to awaken her quirk or for something to help unlock it. Added Mount Lady, making Momo blush at overlooking this fact. Oh alright, I kind of overlooked that. Momo muttered, somewhat embarrassed and downtrodden at having forgotten about the case of late bloomers. It's fine, since they're a rarity, and most quirk users unlock theirs when they're young, so it's something that most would overlook them. I didn't even know about them until after my homeschooling with uni. Naruto assured, making the Ravenet smile in thanks, while Mount Lady smiled proudly at her brother. But them having also unknowingly spared Izumi from Bakugo's wrath for her lying to him about not having a quirk. Though, this revelation did make him wonder on when she unlocked her quirk. Figuring that it must have been some point after the sludge villain incident since she showed no signs of having a quirk before then. Didn't think Mount Lady was that smart. Someone commented, which wiped the smile off Mount Lady's face before turning to said student with an annoyed angry scary face with a tick mark on her forehead. Oh really? You're surprised that I'm smart? Well, here's another surprise, I also know it's not good to start receiving detention on your first day. Said Mount Lady, causing the student and several others to immediately fall silent. While unknown to everyone, All Might had come out and was peeking around the corner to see how Izumi was doing. With said girl looking at the ball, knowing this was her only chance left if she wanted to pass. This is my best chance to use one for all. Thought Izumi, refusing to give up now as she pulled her arm back and channeled one for all into it. But when she threw it, Izumi was shocked and horrified when the ball didn't go nearly as far. 46 meters. Said the measuring device. Oh what gives? I was trying to use it just now. Izumi muttered in disbelief at what happened. I erased your quirk. Stated Aizawa, getting Izumi's attention as she looked at him, only to see his hair standing up, his eyes glowing red, and his wrappings floating in the air, revealing the yellow goggles around his neck. The judges for this exam were not rational enough. Someone like you should never be allowed to enroll at this school. Aizawa said. Wait, you did what to my Those goggles, I know you. You can look at someone and cancel out their powers. The Erasure Hero. Eraserhead. Said Izumi, realizing he was the underground hero Eraserhead. You're not ready. You don't have control over your power. Were you planning to break your bones again? Counting on someone else to save your useless body? Aizawa demanded. No. That's not what I was trying to do. Denied Izumi, only to gasp when Aizawa grabbed her with his binding cloth and pulled her in close. No matter what your intentions are, you would be nothing more than a liability in battle. You have the same reckless passion as another overzealous hero, I know. One who saved 1,000 people by himself and became a legend. But even with that drive, you're worthless if you can only throw a single punch before breaking down. Said Aizawa, with Izumi looking at him with wide eyes. I'm sorry Midoriya. But with your power, there's no way you can become a hero. Aizawa concluded before releasing her and deactivating his quirk. I've returned your impractical quirk. Take your final throw. Hurry and get it over with. Aizawa said before going back to his spot, with Izumi going back to the circle with her head held down. I've got one shot at nailing this, so what am I gonna do? Izumi thought, wondering what she's supposed to do. Is she gonna use her quirk and have to forfeit the rest of the events, like a fool? Or admit defeat and settle into last place? Either way, she doesn't belong here. Thought Aizawa while putting some eye drops in his eyes. I still can't control my power. But I can't just give up, either. Do I let the egg explode? It might be my only shot at staying at UA. I have to try something, no matter what the consequences. Thought Izumi, refusing to give up now as she got ready to throw the ball. Mr. Izawa was right about what he said. If I can't control my quirk, there's no way I'll ever become a hero. Izumi thought as she began moving the ball in her hand to the tips of her fingers. Hey, is she for real? All Might said in disbelief at what Izumi was about to do. She's actually going to do it. Thought Naruto, realizing what Izumi was going to do as well. I have to work way harder than everyone else here if I want to succeed. Even if I have a lot to learn, I'll focus on what I can do right now. Izumi thought as she channeled one for all into her index finger, with Izawa seeing this and fully expecting her to break her arm again. But the ball being sent flying into the air from the force of the throw, much to everyone's amazement, while Izumi gritted her teeth after breaking her finger. Being able to bear it this time, since it wasn't as bad as before. Izawa checked the distance and was amazed when he saw it was just a point higher than Bakugo's own distance. Mr. Izawa. You see. I'm still standing. Stated Izumi, managing to smile and make a fist, greatly impressing the erasure hero. This kid, Izawa muttered, not believing she found a way to succeed. What the heck, young Midoriya? How did you go and get so cool? All Might thought in amazement, seeing how she not only maximized the throw, but minimized the damage to her body. Later. Alright, time to give you your results. I've ranked you all from best to worst. You should probably have a good idea of your standing already. I'll just pull up the whole list, it's not worth going over each individual score. Izawa said as the students were gathered together after finishing the rest of the tests before he revealed the rankings. 1. Naruto Uzumaki. 2. Momoyae Rozu. 3. Shoto Todoroki. 4. Katsuki Bakugo. 5. Tenya Ida. 6. Fumikage Tokoyami. 7. Mizo Shoji. 8. Mashiro Ijiro. 9. Ijiro Kirishima. 10. Mina Shido. 11. Ichako Uraraka. 12. Koji Koda. 13. Rikito Sato. 14. Sayu Asui. 15. Yuga Aoyama. 16. Hanta Siro. 17. Denki Kaminari. 18. Kyoka Jiro. 19. Toru Hagakure. 20. Izumi Midoriya. Izumi's heart dropped when she saw she was in last place, that she failed and was going to be expelled now. And I was lying, no one's going home. Izawa revealed, making everyone look at him with wide eyes. That was just a rational deception to make sure you gave it your all in the tests. Added Izawa, while internally enjoying their reactions to this news. I'm surprised the rest of you didn't figure that out. I'm sorry, I guess I probably should have said something. Momo said, having figured that it was a trick to make sure they did their best, since if they all thought it was just a game, they wouldn't have given it their all. Yeah, you should have said something. Thought several students while looking at Momo in disbelief. That's it. We're done for the day. Pick up a syllabus in the classroom, read it over before tomorrow morning. Said Izawa before taking his leave. Good job everyone. And be ready, cause tomorrow is when the real training begins. And make sure you go see Recovery Girl to get healed up, Izumi. Mount Lady said, waving at the students as she left with Izawa, passing Izumi a slip to give to Recovery Girl to fix her up. Though before either of them could get far, they ran into All Might around the corner, much to Mount Lady's amazement, especially now that she'd been let in on the truth. I think he's practically a skeleton, when not like this. Mount Lady thought, having been let in on the secret after becoming a member of the UA faculty, so she didn't find it strange when she'd see All Might's other form walking around. With it having also made her all the more determined to help Naruto and her students become the best heroes they can be. If there are villains out there that could do something like that to All Might of all people. But ironically, it also made her admire the number one hero even more, that he'd still choose to keep fighting villains with his condition. Especially after what he did 10 months ago, being able to defeat that sludge villain and change the weather with a single punch, despite his injuries and his time being up for using his quirk. Izawa, that was a rotten move. All Might stated, getting their attention while confusing Mount Lady. All Might. So you were watching. What, no talk shows today? Izawa said sarcastically. Irrational deception. That's cute, but you're not exactly known for being lighthearted. I read your file, last year, you expelled an entire class of freshman students. You have no problem kicking students out. Anyone you deem unworthy. Said All Might, much to Mount Lady's shock. Wait, what? Does that mean you were actually going to expel whoever was in last? Mount Lady said, as like the students, she believed it was just a ruse to make them try harder. Indeed, he was. And because he didn't, that can only mean you see the same kind of potential in young Midoriya that I do. Declared All Might, with Izawa looking at him boredly. What is this about? It almost sounds like you've been in her corner the whole time. Isn't it a little early for you to be playing favorites, All Might? At least with her, it's expected and understandable, with her adopted brother now being a student. Aizawa said in amusement while motioning to Mount Lady, making the symbol of peace stumble at inadvertently revealing he's helped Izumi, with a female pro-hero not ashamed to admit that Naruto is her favorite already. Aizawa then turned serious as he kept walking. She doesn't have zero potential, I admit. If that were the case, I would have sent her straight home after class, without hesitation. It's cruel to let a kid keep dreaming of something that will never come true. Stated Aizawa, refusing to pander to students that have big dreams that won't come true if they don't have the potential to do so. In your own way, you're a kind man, Aizawa, I know that. But clearly, it seems like we really don't get along, after all. All Might muttered as the two heroes watched the erasure hero walk away. After picking up a syllabus from class, Naruto headed for the nurse's office to check on Izumi, along with bringing her a copy of the syllabus as well, so she wouldn't have to head back to the classroom. Hey Izumi, are you alright? Naruto asked when he arrived and saw Izumi coming out, only to see her walking sluggishly and slowly. Yeah, I'm fine, I'm just so tired. Replied Izumi, feeling as if her energy was completely drained from Recovery Girl's quirk. From the quirk apprehension test. I didn't think they were that hard, or was it from using your quirk again? Naruto asked, only for the greenette to shake her head. No, it's not either of those things. It's Recovery Girl's quirk called Heal. It lets her heal things like broken bones and other injuries by kissing the recipient, like how she healed me after the entrance exam when broke my arm and legs. But it doesn't simply heal a person, it just amplifies and speeds up the body's natural healing process, which takes the recipient's energy. And depending on the injury and the energy used, it could end with the person dying rather than healing them. And healing my finger took a lot of energy from me. Izumi explained while looking at her bandaged finger, still a little freaked out that Recovery Girl's quirk could kill a person rather than heal them. With Naruto being surprised at hearing this, but also a little freaked out at what could happen to a person who was too injured. Along with remembering all his past injuries, wondering which of them could have ended up killing him. I'm really glad I have so much stamina to burn through. Thought Naruto, relieved for his massive stamina that could last for a long time. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. Also, part of the reason I came by was to give you a copy of the syllabus. Naruto said while handing it to her, with Izumi smiling and thanks as she took. I also wanted to see if you wanted to get started on training your quirk. Or if you want to, we can wait if you're too tired right now. Added Naruto, wanting to help Izumi control her quirk so she didn't have to injure herself every time she used it. No. I'm ready to train now. Izumi replied, quickly jumping at the chance to begin training to use her quirk, especially since her tired state could help her regulate her usage of One for All, rather than jumping straight to 100%. Cool, though we should probably have a teacher to supervise, just in case things get out of hand. Said Naruto, with Izumi nodding in agreement since, with their quirks, they could end up hurting themselves or each other by accident. Did someone say they need a teacher? Because I am here. Declared All Might from behind Naruto, shocking the whiskered blonde as he turned around, not expecting to see the symbol of peace. Whoa, so this is the #1 hero in the world. Naruto thought while looking at All Might in amazement, not expecting to see him in person, let alone here at UA. But seeing him now, Naruto was starting to understand why he was seen as the greatest hero in the world, not just for his power, but just his presence and trademark smile. With Naruto actually feeling like nothing bad could happen as long as he's around and that he could defeat any villain. All Might. Izumi said, not expecting to see her mentor appear like that, well what he said soon registered for Naruto. Wait, you're a teacher here? Asked Naruto in disbelief that they'd really be learning from the symbol of peace. That's right young man, and I couldn't help but hear you offering training to young Midoriya here to help control her quirk. And if you need a teacher to supervise your training, I'd be more than happy to do so. All Might replied, curious himself to see One for All in Naruto's quirk, chakra, compared side by side, along with how he can train Izumi. Actually, I asked Naruto if he could help train me, since our quirks are similar, and he agreed. But yeah, if you could supervise our training that'd be great. Said Izumi, thankful that All Might would be supervising their training, since he already knows the problems she has with using One for All, along with knowing about her previous training. Wonderful. Then let's be off, we can use ground beta, giving you plenty of space to use. Said All Might, before leading them to ground beta and the other training areas. Ground beta? Naruto asked, with the pro hero nodding in response. That's right, it's one of several training areas used by UA to help train the students for different scenarios and locations they may fight in. Ground beta has the appearance of a standard urban area. All Might replied, with the Uzumaki nodding at hearing this, as it'd make sense, given some quirks can be rather destructive. So it'd be good for students to learn to fight in certain areas while controlling their quirks so they don't cause unneeded destruction or injure bystanders. Once the three arrived at ground beta, Naruto and Izumi stood across from each other while All Might stood off to the side to observe their training. Okay, so how do you want to start, Izumi? Naruto asked while looking at the greenet. Do you think you could flare your energy around you and channel it throughout your body so I can see how it works? Said Izumi, wanting to get an example of how she can use one for all. Naruto nodding before he began flaring his chakra around him along with channeling it throughout his body. With Izumi and All Might seeing a blue flame-like aura appearing around Naruto, the greenet getting a closer look to see another, more concentrated aura surround Naruto himself. I can see it, by spreading your energy throughout your entire body, it gives you a wide variety of ways to use it, as opposed to only focusing it in one area for one attack. I'm guessing, it only makes you stronger and more durable. Acting like a shield to take some of the damage from attacks, while it also makes you faster and capable of jumping higher than other people. Not to mention, able to deliver attacks from anywhere on your body, along with being capable of channeling more energy to different parts for an extra boost. And because the energy is spread throughout your body to begin with, it saves you time and more energy when having to re-channel it to a different part as opposed to only channeling it to a certain section. But also, your body would become more adapted to the energy you use over time, allowing you to use more and more energy without worry of injuring yourself from pushing your body past its limits. Izumi said, before continuing muttering to herself as she looked Naruto over, seeing how his quirk worked and what else he would be capable of doing by channeling his energy throughout his body. With Naruto being surprised at how quickly she could figure out how his chakra worked just by him using it. Seeing that she must have spent a long time studying quirks in order to identify them and what their capabilities are. And she's still going. Thought Naruto, while seeing that Izumi was now muttering about the possibilities of his energy quirk. I believe that's enough analyzing for now, young Midoriya. You still want to try practicing with your own quirk, correct? All Might said, pulling Izumi out of her analyst mode, making Izumi blink before laughing sheepishly and quickly stepped back from Naruto after seeing she was invading his space. Sorry, I'm just used to studying different quirks, a lot. Said Izumi, which Naruto waved off. It's fine. But does this happen a lot? Naruto asked while looking at All Might, seeing that the number one hero seems to be familiar with Izumi doing this. Yes, young Midoriya can be rather impatient about new quirks and training. I had helped her prepare for UA's entrance exam after she impressed me with her bravery and determination with the sludge villain and saving young Bakugo. Replied All Might, with Naruto nodding at this. Not sure if that's lucky or ironic. As from what I've seen and heard, Izumi's quirk seems to be really similar to your own quirk, All Might. But since mine is similar as well, I guess it's expected that some will have similar abilities. Naruto stated with a shrug, which internally freaked out Izumi and All Might at just how close he is to the truth, while only being relieved that he didn't make the actual connection yet. Quite right, young Uzumaki. Now then, young Midoriya, whenever you're ready. Said All Might while looking at Izumi, seeing if she has what she needs to start learning to control One for All. Nodding, Izumi took a breath before she began tapping into One for All, but rather than channeling it to a specific part of her body, she had it spread throughout her entire being. With glowing red vein-like lines soon appearing and spread across her body, from her feet all the way up to her head. Before the lines seemed to jump off her body and change into a green electric aura that surrounded her, with her eyes also gaining a similar aura as well. Izumi looking at herself in amazement at feeling the power coursing through her body, but not feeling any of the strain or pressure like before. Well done, young Midoriya. Though judging from your aura and the feel of your power, compared to what you used during the entrance exam, along with what you did in the quirk apprehension test, I don't believe you're using the same amount of power as you did those times. If I were to hazard a guess, you may only be using about 5%, though this is only a rough estimate until we see what you can do. Said All Might, while rubbing his chin as he tried to get a feel for how much power Izumi's using. Plus, he wasn't lying when he said that he was estimating how much she's using, given the power jump that One for All would gain after being passed from him to Izumi. So, he's estimating things off of his own experience in using One for All. I'm ready to get started. Izumi replied eagerly, wanting to see what she can do now that she had a chance to start controlling her quirk and use it without hurting herself. Take it easy, Izumi. Well, it's good to get started on controlling your quirk, you should make sure to take baby steps first. Like getting used to moving around in this form. Said Naruto, knowing even if she's not using the full power of her quirk, she should still take things slow. Agreed, if you aren't careful, you may end up drawing on more energy and only injure yourself or others. You could also run straight into a building if you don't know how fast you are. All Might added, with Izumi nodding in agreement with their words, since she still had to be careful and take it slow. leading to Izumi starting out by walking around in her new form, getting used to her enhanced capabilities while like this. While tripping up a few times when her body moved faster than she intended it to before she began getting used to it. Once she got used to walking, Izumi started running around, moving much faster than she ever did before, with a trail of green electricity behind her. While being sure to stay aware of her surroundings and avoid crashing into anything, while mentally mapping out her path as she ran. Before long, Izumi started jumping around the buildings, managing to move fast enough to jump off one and onto another, like they were platforms. With Naruto and All Might watching her move from down on the ground. She's certainly a quick study. All Might thought, impressed at how quickly Izumi is getting used to her new form and how she's using it, while chalking it up to her analytical mind and gift of being able to break down quirks and how they work. Having gotten a look at some of her notebooks over their 10 months of training, knowing that Izumi had an impressively high intellect when it came to understanding quirks. With her mind combined with one for all, young Midoriya will be a fearsome foe for any villain she comes across once she reaches her full potential. Thought All Might, proud of how far she'll go. While Naruto was watching Izumi's movements while thinking of a fighting style that would suit her with the way she's moving and how fast she is. Hey Izumi, I think I know a fighting style that you could use with that form. Naruto called out to the greenette, getting hers and All Might's attention, with Izumi jumping down and landing in front of them. The fighting style? Asked Izumi, intrigued at this, along with All Might, since neither of them having considered a fighting style for her to use. Yeah, it's one from the village I used to live in before I came to the city and was found by Yunichan. It's called the Strong Fist, with it emphasizing on refining the user's body and physical prowess, along with meeting and countering opponents' attacks with equal or greater force, while moving at high speeds and agility. Naruto explained. Thanks Kakashi-sensei. Thought Naruto, thankful to his late teacher, as the strong fist jutsu was one of the things he'd implanted in his mind before sending him away. With Naruto having trained in the style himself, since he's a speed-based fighter with a preference of landing strong and powerful blows on his enemies. Making the strong fist a great jutsu style for him to train in and use, given how fast Lee and Sasuke were moving during their respective matches against Gaara. Even if Sasuke only really used key elements and techniques from the strong fist, while also having trained in the speed-based aspect of it for his training and using the Chidori. That does sound like it'd be perfect to use with your quirk, young Midoriya. What do you think? All Might said while looking at Izumi, who thought about it for a few moments before nodding. It does seem like it'd be useful and may even help with my training and using more of my quirk's power while in this form. Replied Izumi as she looked at herself while mentally dubbing this new form as her one for all. Full cowl form. Great. Let's get started on you learning the katas and going through the motions until you have them memorized. Then putting them into action. Naruto said before he began showing Izumi the katas for the strong fist style. Time skip one day. The next day, a tired Naruto and Izumi arrived at UA where they were greeted by Tenyu in the hallway. Naruto, Izumi, you two don't look so well. Did something happen or did you not get enough sleep? Questioned Tenyu upon noticing their tired state. Yeah, we were training yesterday after the quirk apprehension test, with Naruto keeping good on helping me train my quirk to control and master it. But we ended up losing track of time and ended up pulling an all-nighter. Thankfully, the school set up some space for us to spend the night. Izumi replied, having been so focused on training, she and Naruto didn't even realize how long they were going at it. The two going to a vending machine to get some energy drinks, knowing they'll need them and the boost for today, while Tenyu looked at them with a frown. While it's admirable for you to get a handle on your quirk Izumi and you to help a fellow classmate and friend, Naruto. You both should be conscious of your limits and overall health, especially since you're still students. If you aren't, you may end up doing more harm to yourselves than making progress. Tenyu said before Ichako ran up to them. Hey, wait up guys. What's wrong with you two? Did something happen? Ichako asked while looking at Naruto and Izumi. We started training yesterday and ended up spending the entire night training, so we weren't able to get much sleep last night. Said Naruto, surprising the brunette before she smiled and nodded. Oh, well it's really great that you're training. By the way Izumi, I was wondering, why does Bakugo call you Deku? Since I noticed he seemed to only call you that rather than your name. Ichako asked while looking at Izumi, with Naruto and Tenyu looking at her as well, also curious about why Bakugo calls her that. It's because my Ka-san intended to name me Izuku if I had been born a boy. With the kanji for Izuku also spelling Deku, which means useless. Izumi replied, making the three frown. Well that's unsportsmanlike. Stated Tenyu. Oh, I didn't know that, I'm sorry. But you know what? I like Deku, it sounds kind of like the phrase you can do it, not to mention it sounds really cute too. It'd seem like a great hero name. Ichako said, surprising Izumi at this. It would be a good way to get back at everyone who used it to make fun of you for your former quirkless status by turning their insult into your hero name. Added Naruto, with the green at looking between the two before smiling. Then call me Deku. Izumi said, seeing her old nickname in a new light. Now that's admirable, turning a childhood insult into a form of strength, and it does seem like a fitting hero name. Tenya said, admiring how they can turn an insult into a form of strength. The four then headed for class and took their seats, though the moment Izumi sat down, Bakugo got up and marched up to her. Alright Deku, what gives? When did you get a quirk? Bakugo demanded, wanting to know she awakened her quirk, making Izumi jump slightly. Well actually I kind of unlocked it during the entrance exam. I just felt something inside me and the next thing I know, I punched and destroyed the 0-pointer. Said Izumi, playing on the belief that she's a late bloomer. I really need to thank Naruto and Mount Lady for that excuse. Izumi thought, knowing this'll help keep it a secret that she didn't have a quirk at all, until All Might gave her one for all. Bakugo looked at her with narrowed eyes, before letting out a TSK and sitting back down, making the greenette mentally sigh in relief before they began waiting for class to start. It wasn't long before classes started, which included normal core classes. Like English, which met in the morning. Now. Which of these 4 sentences contains a mistake? Questioned Present Mick, who's also the English teacher, with most of the students looking bored. Hey everybody, look alive. Grammar rules. Present Mick said, as Momo raised her hand. The relative pronouns wrong in the last one. Izumi thought, just as Momo answered with the question with the same answer. Though as the day went on, the others began seeing that while Naruto is great practically, it looked like book smarts wasn't his forte. Much to Tenya's horror when he fell asleep a few times in class. But All Might. Meanwhile, All Might was in his civilian form of Toshinori Yagi, currently looking at his Silver Age hero costume, having decided to wear it rather than his current costume for his first day of teaching. I hope you're ready kid, cause the real challenge is gonna start soon. Toshinori thought, as the battle trial class will be starting today. Later class, 1A. When the afternoon came around, it was time for everyone's favorite class, Hero Basic Training, before they all heard the door opening. We are here. Coming through the door like heroes. All Might declared as he leaned into the room while posing, with Mount Lady joining him, with Izumi smiling at the sight of her mentor, while Naruto smiled at his sister, as the rest of the students gasped in shock and amazement at the sight of the number 1 hero. I can't believe it's really All Might. So he is a teacher. This year is gonna be totally awesome. Hey, look. Is he wearing his Silver Age costume? I'm getting goosebumps. It's so retro. Welcome to the most important class at UA High. Think of it as Heroing 101. Here, you will learn the basics of being a pro. And what it means to fight in the name of good. All Might said, with Mount Lady stepping forward. We'll be getting right into it and all of you better be ready because today's lesson won't have any pulled punches. As we'll be having battle trials today. Said Mount Lady, making Bakugo grin in excitement at the chance to fight. Indeed it will be. But one of the keys of being a hero is looking good. Added All Might before pointing at a wall as 4 sections slid out, revealing several numbered compartments, much to everyone's excitement at guessing what they were. These were designed for you based on your quirk registration forms and the requests you sent in before school started. All Might said, making the students cheer at seeing they'll get to wear their hero costumes. That suited up and then meet us at training ground beta. Said Mount Lady, with the students all nodding as they went to get their costumes to see how they turned out. Later. All Might and Mount Lady stood inside ground beta, waiting for class 1A to arrive and see how they look in their hero costumes, the latter being especially excited to see how her brother will look in his costume. Before they looked and saw the students arriving, all of them now dressed in their costumes, the 2 heroes unable to help but smile at how they all looked. They say that clothes make the pros, young ladies and gentlemen. And behold, you are the proof. All Might declared as they all stepped forward. Take this to heart. From now on, you are all heroes in training. Said All Might, feeling revved up at seeing his students standing together, dressed as heroes. I'm actually starting to get pumped up. They look so cool. You especially look cool, Ataudo. Mount Lady said while smiling at Naruto in his own hero costume. Naruto's costume was a black and burnt orange bodysuit with burnt orange boots with claws, metal bands around the feet and 2 black bands around the top part. With the lower part of the suit being black and burnt orange on the inner thighs, while having a turquoise weapons pouch on his right leg, as well as a grey belt with sideways red triangles going around it and a black buckle with solid red eyes and a fanged grin. The upper part was black on the abdomen, burnt orange on the sides with brown parts under his arms, burnt orange on his upper chest and shoulders, a white zipper at the center, black on his biceps with 2 orange bands, and orange gloves with a metal vambrace on his right hand. And finishing it was a burnt orange cowl resembling a fox's head with white reflective lenses and a black face mask covering his mouth, with Naruto having added seals to let him breathe underwater and filter out poisons, as well as other airborne toxins. Some of them really went all out in designing their costumes. Naruto thought while looking at his classmates and their costumes. Seeing Tenyu's hero costume consisted of a black one-piece suit with a high collar, over which he wears various pieces of armor, all in a pale silver in color, including a chest plate, a metal collar around his neck and another around his upper arm, and metal vambraces that extend past his elbows pointed at the ends. He wears a helmet covering his entire face, its sharp beaver full of holes to allow him to speak and breathe easily, and its upper piece rounded over his head with two larger holes on either side, two curved horns just behind, and a single spike sticking out of the back of his head. The Kugo's hero costume was composed of a tight black sleeveless tank top with an orange X across the middle, forming a V-neck. There are two dots along the left line of his collar, indicating the support company that designed his costume. His costume also has a metallic neck brace worn with rectangular ends that have 3 holes on each side. His sleeves reach from within his large grenade-like gauntlets to his biceps. His belt, which also carries grenades, holds up his baggy pants with knee guards, below which he sports black knee-high combat boots with orange soles and eyelets. His mask is jagged and black, and as it goes around his eyes, a large orange-rimmed flare shape protrudes from each side. Though when Naruto turned his attention to the girls, he gulped and was thankful his mask covered his entire face at seeing their attire. Ichako's hero costume consists of a black full bodysuit with a pale pink design down the middle of her torso, 2 black circles on her chest, and a black rectangle below her waist, running between her legs. There are 2 more pink patches over her shoulders, both cut off by darker pink armbands that match the thick choker around her neck. She has circular wrist guards, a dark pink handle on the back of each one, wide knee-high boots with magenta soles and a 2-piece belt around her waist, a circle embedded into the center where the pieces join up, and a helmet with a tinted visor sometimes worn on her head, all of which are the same pale pink color. Momo's hero costume consists of a high-collared, sleeveless crimson leotard with silver lines at her waist and around her arms, which is open to expose her skin from her neck to just below her navel. She sports calf-length crimson boots with heels, which dip sharply down in the center, and 2 gold utility belts around her waist, another, thinner one around the top portion of her chest, below her shoulders. Damn it, Uni. Naruto thought, blushing at seeing the others' costumes were just as tight-fitting or revealing, making him curse his sister and her teasing. Knowing it's her teasing that's caused him to develop this habit. Though he looked back at hearing footsteps and saw Izumi arriving as well, in her own hero costume. Her costume was rather simple compared to others, being a green full-body jumpsuit with a red belt, elbow pads, knee pads, and gloves, along with red boots. The only problem, for Naruto anyway, was that her costume was also skin-tight and left little to the imagination. I hate that I was right before, but I also love that I was right before. Thought Naruto while looking Izumi up and down, only to realize what he just thought and was doing, leading him to walk over to a building and start banging his head against it. Naruto, are you alright? Izumi asked as she, Ichako, and Tenyu walked over to him, wondering what he was doing. Yeah, I'm fine. But, don't take this the wrong way, but having a sister like you Nichin it caused me to become rather aware of the female figure. Especially with how much she loves to wear her hero costume at home, along with her tendency to hug and tease me. And with the suits the girls are wearing, said Naruto, as the 3 soon realized what he meant, much to their embarrassment, especially Ichako's and Izumi's, as they tried averting their gaze. Sorry. I didn't actually think mine would be this showy. Izumi said, not knowing how tight her costume would be when her mother gave it to her, having even forgotten wearing the hood, since it'd just make her hair get in the way. But after seeing it again and with her full cowl form, Izumi figured she may need to either get a different suit or make some improvements to this one, so it'll be more durable and combat ready. I think it looks good, not too flashy, but still good. I should have been more specific about what I wanted. The skin-tight bodysuit isn't really my style. Said Ichako sheepishly, having not been specific with her design, only to see Naruto still headbutting the wall. Well, I'll look on the bright side, at least you have Mount Lady as a big sister and not Midnight as a mother, which could have been even worse. Ichako quickly added. I've been meaning to ask that, why is it your last name is Uzumaki and not Takeyama? Questioned Tenya, eager to change the subject as Naruto stopped headbutting the wall. That's because U's my adoptive older sister, she found me and took me in, not long after I arrived in the city. Before she found me, I was living in an abandoned construction site, which I also used as a training ground since I hadn't been aware of the quirk restriction laws when I arrived. Uni actually saved me after I passed out and part of the site became unstable, causing it to almost fell on me. Replied Naruto, surprising them at hearing this. What about where you lived before? Achako asked, more curious now. Yeah, you mentioned yesterday the village you lived in. Why did you leave it? Questioned Izumi, only for Naruto to lower his head. My village had been invaded by villains, really powerful ones. My sensei sacrificed himself so I could escape. I didn't see most of it happen since he knocked me out, as I would have been stubborn and refused to leave, not if I could do something to help. By the time I woke up, I was far away and hidden, with only a message saying what happened. That the village had been destroyed and everyone was gone. Naruto said lowly, thinking about what had happened, everything he lost. The only thing he expected that day was to defeat Neji and keep his promise to Hinata. Then the next thing he knew, an invasion is being launched by Suna and Oto before the Akatsuki arrived. Which is when Kakashi grabbed him and took him away while putting him under a Jinjutsu. By the time he finally woke up, he was already here and learned that his home, his team, his friends, everyone and everything he ever knew was gone. Leaving him alone in a new world, trying to pick up the pieces and figure what he was supposed to do now. Izumi, Achako, and Tenya looked at him in disbelief and sadness, not believing he'd had to go through that. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Naruto. Izumi said, having thought she had it bad when no one believed she could become a hero, but saw now that Naruto had it much worse. Yeah, sorry that happened to you. But at least you were able to meet Mount Lady and have her as your sister. Added Achako. Indeed, and your teacher sounds very brave to sacrifice himself to save your life. Each day you live, you honor that sacrifices by continuing forward. Stated Tenya, with Naruto looking at them and nodding. Thanks. Naruto replied. By the way, your hero costume looks really cool, especially with the white reflective lenses. Achako said to change the topic. Yeah it is. You don't see many retro costumes like that anymore. Added Izumi, given white reflective lenses were usually portrayed in old western comic books from before the emergence of quirks, with pro heroes not really using them since most didn't feel the need to keep their identities a secret like in comics. Thanks. Though how did you design yours, Tenya? Questioned Naruto, wondering why he chose to wear armor. It's based off of my brother's outfit, he's a pro hero, the Turbo Hero Ingenium. We have the same quirk, but while I have engines in my legs, his are in his elbows. Tenya revealed, much to their amazement, before they began talking to Tenya about his brother and family. Now that you're ready, it's time for combat training. Said All Might, getting the Four's attention as they went up to join their classmates. Sir. This is the fake city from our entrance exam. Does that mean that we'll be conducting urban battles again? Questioned Tenya while raising his hand. Not quite, we'll be moving you 2 steps ahead. Most of the villain fights you see on the news take place outside. However, statistically speaking, run-ins with most villains take place indoors. Things like backroom deals, home invasions, and secret underground lairs. Smart criminals stay hidden in the shadows rather than appearing out in the open. Explained Mount Lady, knowing not all fights will take place outside and they'll need to learn to be prepared for ones that take place inside as well. Correct Mount Lady. Which is why for this training exercise, you'll be split into teams of good guys and bad guys and fight 2-on-2 indoor battles. All Might stated. Isn't this a little advanced? One of the students asked. She was a short girl of a relatively slender build compared to her classmates and has notably large hands. Her appearance is rather frog-like. She has a very wide mouth which dips down a little in the middle, just like that of a common frog, and oval-shaped eyes with large black irises, their lower eyelashes being visibly pronounced, and she also demonstrates some frog-like mannerisms. Such as hopping on all fours instead of running and holding herself in a way that is somewhat connotative of a frog. Her hair is a dark sea green color and is very long, reaching all the way to her waist with the ends tied together at the bottom in a large bow of hair. She has 2 shoulder-length clumps framing her face and shorter bangs between her eyes, some of them partially swept to each side. While her hero costume consists of a bright green turtleneck bodysuit, tan-colored gloves with large buckles on each wrist guard, and 2 matching belts, one above her breasts, a strap at either side going around her shoulders, and one around her waist, little green dots embedded into it all the way around. 2 black lines run all the way down her suit, each framed with yellow, and she wears tight black boots with markings in the shape of a V on her thighs, green webbed flippers resembling frogs' toes on her feet. She wears a headband with a color matching that of her gloves and goggles with dark green tinted lenses attached on either side. That's Tsuyu Asui, I think her quirk is called frog. Naruto thought while looking at the frog-like girl. The best training is what you get on the battlefield. But remember, you can't just punch a robot this time. You're dealing with actual people now. Said All Might, knowing they can't just rip their opponents apart or blow them up like the robots. Sir, ma'am, will you both be the ones deciding who wins? Momo asked. How much can we hurt the other team? Asked Bakugo. Do we need to worry about the losers getting expelled like earlier? Questioned Achako. Would you be splitting us up based on chance or comparative skill? Tenya asked. Quite. Shouted Mount Lady as she grew to giant size, silencing all the students at the loud shout before she shrank back down, with All Might nodding in thanks. Alright, listen up. The situation is this, the villains have hidden a nuclear missile somewhere in their hideout. The heroes must try to foil their plans. To do that, the good guys either have to catch the evildoers or recover the weapon. Likewise, the bad guys succeed if they protect their payload or capture the heroes. Time's limited, and we'll choose teams by drawing lots. Now, let's draw. All Might declared as he and Mount Lady drew names to see who will be partnered with who. But the teams soon being formed as followed. Team A. Yuga Aoyama and Shoto Todoroki. Team B. Mina Shido and Toru Hagakure. Team C. Sayu Asui and Kyo Kajiro. Team D. Tenya Ida and Fumikage Tokoyami. Team E. Ichako Uraraka and Naruto Uzumaki. Team F. Masher Aojiro and Mizo Shoji. Team G. Denki Kaminari and Kitsuki Bakugo. Team H. Ijiro Kirishima and Izumi Midoriya. Team I. Koji Koda and Momoyaoi Rozu. Team J. Rikido Sato and Hanta Siro. And with the teams now formed, the first pair of teams to battle each other, our Mount Lady said as she pulled a ball out of the villain's box and All Might pulled from the hero's box. These guys. Said All Might, showing Team K would be the villains and Team C will be the heroes. Team C will be the heroes. Team J will be the villains. Everyone else can head to the monitoring room to watch. Said Mount Lady, with the students nodding as she guided them to monitoring room, while All Might took teams J and C to the building, where the trial will be held. So, Naruto, what can your quirk do? Ichako asked when they arrived in the monitoring room, figuring they can take the chance to get to know each other better. My quirk is called chakra and it produces an energy that circulates through my entire body. I can do a lot with it, like enhance my strength, speed, durability, agility, and endurance. Along with being able to shape it into different kinds of attacks or weapons, like chains that I can shoot out of my body. What about you? Your quirk's called zero gravity, right? Said Naruto as he looked at the brunette. Yep, that's right. I can cancel the effect of gravity on living and non-living objects by touching them with the pads on my fingers and then cancel the effect of my quirk by putting my fingertips together. But the main drawback is that if I exceed my upper weight limit or if I float myself, then I'll suffer severe nausea. My suit was actually designed to minimize the negative effects my quirk has on me. Ichako explained, with Naruto nodding at this. That's pretty cool and really useful. Though, do the objects you touch just float into the air or can you control them? Naruto asked. They just float into the air, so I can't really control them or what they do. Replied Ichako. Well, what if you found a way to control the objects you touch, like being able to repel them away from you or attract them? Like being able to make an enemy float in the air and send them crashing into their allies or wall, taking them down. Or pull something in front of you to act as a shield. Said Naruto. In addition to all their jutsu, Kakashi and Itachi had also given him all their knowledge of the Akatsuki in the event they failed to get him out of the elemental nations and he needed to be prepared to face them. So he had knowledge about pain and his ability to control gravity, which he figured he could use to help Ichako with her quirk. Ooh, that'd be so cool. But I'm not sure I'd be able to do that, but maybe with some training or putting some gadgets in my suit, it could work. Ichako said, liking the idea of being able to manipulate gravity like that. If it is, I could help with your training. And if not, then you'll still get some training with your quirk and may think of other ways to use it, along with increasing the weight limit you can carry. Replied Naruto, with Ichako smiling and nodding in agreement. Alright. Let's begin the indoor combat training. Team C and Team J, your time starts now. All Might declared as everyone looked at the monitors. Pay attention, kids. Think about what you would do and see what plans you can come with, depending on whether you'll be heroes or villains. Said Mount Lady as she and All Might held clipboards to score the teams on their performances, with the students looking at the monitors as well, as Tsuyu and Jiro entered the building, while Rikido and Hanta got ready for them. So, if we're the heroes, what do you think of me dealing with the villains we're against while you go secure the missile? Since with your quirk, you'd be able to float in through a window, while I'd be able to trap the villains in those hallways with my chains. Naruto suggested, with Ichako nodding at this plan. Sounds good. And if we're the villains, I could stay with the missile and levitate it and myself into the air, which could let us get the drop on any heroes. Well, you could go deal with them personally, with the same strategy that we'll use if we're the heroes. Replied Ichako, with Naruto nodding this time, seeing they had good plans to use for whichever side they're on. With that, they went back to watching the match, and while it took a while, Team C just barely managed to pull out a win against Team J. And heroes take the first win. Now for the next matchup. All Might said as he and Mount Lady drew two new balls out of the boxes. Team F are the heroes and Team D are the villains," said Mount Lady, with Team F consisting of Masahiro Jiro and Mizo Shoji, while Team D was Tenya and Fumikage Tokoyami. "Alright, you can do this, you are a villain. The worst of the worst, children cry at the mention of your name, people flee at your presence, you are a monster in human form." Tenya muttered to himself, not liking the idea of playing a villain, but refused to back down and was psyching himself into the role of a villain. Something that made Naruto and Ichako laugh slightly, seeing he was going all out and acting like a villain. When the match started, it was easy to see Masahiro and Mizo were at a disadvantage in the narrow hallways, something Tenya and Fumikage were able to take advantage with their respective quirks. Before long, Team D had succeeded in defeating Team F. And that's a point for the villains. Now let's see who'll be facing off next. Mount Lady said as the two drew balls again. "And we have Team E as the villains and Team H as the heroes," said All Might, leading to Naruto and Ichako looking at Izumi and Ijiro. Later with Naruto and Ichako. "So, you ready?" Naruto asked while looking at Ichako as they stood with the missile prop. "Ready to crush these pathetic heroes," replied Ichako with a smirk, psyching herself up to be a villain. "Good, but make no mistake, if you mess up, I'll come after you next." Naruto threatened while narrowing his eyes at her, also falling into the role of a villain and not treating her like an actual ally. "As long as you don't get in my way, then we won't have a problem," Ichako retorted before using her quirk on the missile and herself before floating into the air. With Naruto smirking before he got ready for the test to start. With Izumi and Ijiro. Meanwhile, outside Izumi and Ijiro stood ready for the test to begin. Ijiro is a muscular young man of average height and a rather impressive physique for his young age. He has red eyes that are pointed slightly inwards and a small scar just above his right eye. He also has small eyebrows and very pointed teeth. His hair is somewhat long and dyed a bright red and spiked away from his head at all angles with gel, with two more pronounced tufts spiked on either side of his forehead like little horns. His hero costume was two dark red gear-shaped shoulder pads. A jagged sash joins the one on his left to the right side of his belt, which has a red R set into its center. Below this, he wears baggy black pants and half cape with a ripped hem. He also sports dark red boots and multiple thick rings going around his calves. He leaves his chest bare and wears a wired guard around his face, reaching from just above his hairline to below his jaw, an extra piece going over the bridge of his nose, and some spiked pieces around his mouth, which resemble little fangs. "So, what's the game plan?" Ijiro asked as he turned to look at Izumi. "I'm not sure, since Naruto and Ichako will be a tough pair to face with their quirks. I'd say that Ichako may be left to guard the missile, while Naruto will come after us directly. I know his quirk gives him enhanced physical abilities, along with being able to do energy attacks and shoot chains out of his arms, which will be dangerous in the narrow hallways. And I'm not sure on how much help I'll be, since I've only just started to control my quirk and he's been helping me with my training in doing so he'll know how it works," Izumi said, knowing it'll take some time before she can activate her full cowl like it's second nature or keep it activated at all times. "Well, whether we win or lose, it doesn't matter as long as we do our best and prove ourselves as real men," Ijiro said grinning, making the greenette blink in confusion before looking at him. "I'm a girl," stated Izumi, making the Redeed laugh slightly. "Not literally. The Crimson Riot is my all-time favorite hero, and when he uses the term man, it's more in a spiritual sense rather than a physical one. Like a state of mind, essentially determination and courage, rather than based on gender. So, as long as we do our best, we'll be real men even if we lose," explained Ijiro, surprising Izumi before she looked at her hand, clenching and unclenching her fist. "Courage and determination," Izumi thought before looking up with a determined look in her eyes, planning to give it her all and do her best. "Alright. Let's begin the indoor combat training. Team H and Team E, your time starts now," said All Might over the loudspeaker. "Let's go," Izumi said, with Ijiro nodding as they began scaling the building and climbed through a window. "So far so good, now we just have to find the missile," Ijiro stated. "Just be careful, there are a lot of blind spots here and we still have to get past Naruto and Ichako, wherever they are," replied Izumi, with Ijiro nodding in agreement. The two moved through the building, being sure to check around corners for any sign of Naruto or Ichako, while also making sure to look behind them for any sign that they were being followed. With Izumi checking around another corner, only for her eyes to widen when Naruto appeared and a chain shot out of his arm straight towards her. The two quickly jumping back as the whiskered blonde's chain stabbed into the ground, with Naruto looking at the two with narrowed eyes before shooting more chains at them. With Ijiro moving in front of Izumi before raising his arms, activating his quirk hardening as they became jagged and rock-like, causing the chains to bounce off his arms. Only to gasp in shock when the chains suddenly wrapped around him tightly. "You didn't think you could just deflect my chains, did you?" Such naivety, just what I'd expect from a run playing dress up. Naruto taunted while pulling Ijiro towards him before taking notice of the fact that Izumi was no longer standing behind the redeed. With Naruto grunting in pain as Izumi, now in her full Cal form, had ran around and got behind him before delivering a spin kick to his back. Not only sending him flying down the corridor, but freeing Ijiro from his chains as well. And you thought we'd be taken down that easily? Such overconfidence, how expected from a villain. Replied Izumi. Nice move, now let's take him down. Ijiro said while hardening his arms and rushing Naruto, with Izumi right behind him. Naruto merely holding his arms up and shooting more chains at them, with Ijiro raising his arms to use as a battering ram against the chains. While Izumi jumped across the walls towards Naruto, with a Uzumaki looking at her, and directed some chains to try and grab her. Only for Izumi to dodge the chains and deliver a right hook to Naruto's head, knocking him into the ground. But the Jinchuriki grunting at the hit while managing to place his hands on the ground and flip over Ijiro, shooting more chains at him as he did so. With Izumi managing to get him out of the way in time before he could be grabbed. Throw me at him. Said Ijiro, with a grin at nodding, before spinning around while holding her partner, launching him straight at Naruto. Ijiro hardening more of his body as he smashed through the chakra chains and straight towards Naruto, who began forming a Rasengan upon seeing this. Though making sure to not make it as strong as it normally would be, since he didn't want to seriously hurt Ijiro. Rasengan. Naruto shouted, slamming the Rasengan into Ijiro's stomach, the redeed grunting as he quickly hardened the area of impact, though he still felt the blow of the attack. Though Ijiro was able to stand his ground and grabbed hold of Naruto's arm, smirking at the masked blonde. Nice hit, now here's mine. Ijiro said, slamming his hardened fist into Naruto's gut, knocking the wind out of him. The redeed then grabbing Naruto by the back of his costume and throwing him towards Izumi to take him down. The greenette jumping towards Naruto with her fist pulled back, seeing he wouldn't be able to shoot any chains at her, though what she didn't see was the smirk under Naruto's mask. Before to Izumi's shock, multiple chains shot out of his back, with all of them heading straight for her. I can't dodge. Izumi thought, gasping when the chains wrapped around her, with Naruto pulling her in close and slamming her into the ground. Next time you face an enemy, make sure it's one you know what they're capable of. Oh wait, there won't be a next time. Said Naruto as he created another Rasengan, strong enough to knock her out, but not strong enough to hurt her too badly. But before he could hit Izumi with it, he grunted when Ijiro ripped a metal panel off the wall and threw it at him. With Naruto looking up, only for Ijiro to run and jump at him, slamming his foot into his head, knocking the Uzumaki back and freeing Izumi. With the two quickly putting some distance between them and Naruto, who flipped in the air and landed on his feet. I'm going to enjoy turning you into a pile of rubble. Naruto said, before shooting dozens of chains at them, making the two run away from the chains. Ijiro. You should go after Ichako and the weapon, I'll deal with Naruto. Said Izumi as they ran through the halls, with the chains still chasing after them. You sure you can handle him alone? Questioned Ijiro, seeing that he wasn't a good matchup against Naruto, given how his energy attack seemed powerful to break through his quirk after just a few hits, not to mention those chains that could restrain him. Yeah, I should be able to at least stall him long enough for you to get the weapon. Izumi replied, with the redeed nodding at this. Alright, good luck, I'll find it as soon as I can. Ijiro said, before running ahead to go and find where the weapon was being kept. While Izumi stopped and turned around as the chains approached, looking at her fist before pulling it back. I hope this works. Thought Izumi, knowing if this doesn't work, she'll be looking at another broken arm and being captured as well. When the chains were close enough, Izumi threw her fist forward while channeling more energy into it, but rather than letting the energy stay in her arm, the girl tried to release it in the form of a blast. Resulting in a burst of green electric-like energy impacting the chains, causing them to shatter, much to her shock that it actually worked. Wow, I didn't think that'd actually work. Izumi thought, having tried copying how Bakugo make an explosion with his quirk and seeing if she could do the same to destroy the chains. Well, aren't you just full of surprises, but it seems you aren't as smart as you think, as now you're defenseless. Stated Naruto as he come around the corner, causing Izumi's eyes to widen when she noticed that she wasn't in her full Cal form anymore. Crap. Izumi thought, before turning around to get away from Naruto to re-enter the state, with Naruto chasing after her. You can run, but you can't hide. And when I find you, you'll see what real power looks like. Naruto said, with the greenette glancing back behind her. He's really good at playing the role of a villain. Thought Izumi, upon seeing how Naruto was getting into the role of a bad guy. Shaking her head to focus on the matter at hand, Izumi began focusing to enter her one for all. Full Cal form again, only to gasp in shock when Naruto suddenly came around a corner in front. Not expecting him to suddenly appear in front of her, like that. Got you now. Stated Naruto before shooting chains out at her, wrapping them around Izumi and pulling her towards him. Though when she got close enough, Izumi felt her full cowl form come back as the green electric aura appeared around her again. Leading to the green at headbutting Naruto when she was close enough, freeing herself from his chains. Followed by flipping and kicking him in the chin, knocking him back as he grunted at the hit. With Naruto then rushing Izumi and slamming his foot into her stomach, knocking the wind out of her and sending her flying down the hall. The hero managing to right herself and plant her feet against the wall before she crashed into it. With Izumi kicking off and back towards Naruto to deliver a diving kick to his head, with the Uzumaki managing to block it with his arm but was still pushed back by the hit. With the greenette flipping back and landing on the ground before pulling her fist back and went to give Naruto an uppercut. Which the whiskered blonde dodged before grabbing Izumi by her arm and flipping her over his shoulder and onto the ground. Before he then picked her up and threw her into the ceiling, delivering a spin kick to side when she came back down, with Izumi grunting in pain at the hits. Before panting when she felt herself fall out of her full cowl again. Do me a favor and give up, I prefer not wasting any more of time dealing with a brat that can't even use her own power. Naruto said, making Izumi grit her teeth. Right after you. Retorted Izumi before kicking Naruto's legs out from under him, with her getting up and took off running so she could re-enter her full cowl again. I think I'm starting to figure out his fighting style. He uses his chains as long-distance weapons to either injure or capture targets. And when he gets up close, he mostly dodges or counters attacks before moving in to take them down quickly. So I just need to be faster than him and I can take him down. Izumi thought before concentrating to enter her full cowl again. But before she could, she was shocked by a suddenly powerful blast of wind coming down the hallway, throwing her off her feet. With Izumi gritting her teeth as she tried regaining her footing, before she was shocked to see the wind was coming from Naruto, who was holding his hands out releasing a vortex of wind. With the attack only stopping when Izumi was slammed into the wall, looking at him in disbelief. How did you, Izumi said, not believing he could somehow use wind when he was supposed to only have an energy quirk. Do you honestly believe I only use chains and energy attacks? I can channel my chakra into elemental attacks as well, giving me all the more ways to rip you apart, hero. Wine style. Great breakthrough. Said Naruto, before going through hand signs and unleashing a powerful blast of wind at Izumi, whose eyes widened before she was able to activate her full cowl again and escape being hit. He can turn his chakra into elemental attacks as well. Izumi thought, not having expected something like this, knowing things just got a lot harder with this revelation. But Ijiro. Meanwhile, Ijiro soon arrived at the room where the weapon was being kept, only to be confused when he didn't see it or Ichako anywhere. Did they move it to another room, or did they hide it somewhere? Ijiro muttered while looking around and hardening his arms, in case Ichako was hiding somewhere in the room to sneak attack him. Indeed, missing Ichako poking out from atop one of the pillars in the room, seeing him trying to find where she could be hiding. Thank goodness the weapon prop isn't that heavy. Ichako thought, since it allowed her to support herself and the weapon without any trouble or giving away her position. Waiting until Ijiro's back was turned, Ichako kicked off the pillar while deactivating her quirk, launching herself towards Ijiro. Managing to place her hand on his back, activating her zero gravity on him, before using the capture tape on him. Ah, look at the poor little hero, all alone and defenseless. How sad and pathetic. Ichako taunted before pushing Ijiro around, making him spin in the air. Maybe I should drop you out the window to become a stain on the ground or send you flying into space and suffocate from having no air. Decisions. Said Ichako with a wicked smirk, actually freaking Ijiro out a little at how well she's playing the part of the villain. Damn it. I can't believe I let myself get captured like that. Ijiro thought, cursing himself for getting captured, even worse as he remembered Izumi telling him how Ichako's quirk worked and he still let her get him. Oh well, consider yourself lucky that we still need to deal with your little friend, then we can decide on what to do with you. Ichako stated before taking Ijiro out of the room to find where Naruto and Izumi were. With Izumi. Back with the one-for-all user, Izumi was panting as she'd been knocked out of her full cowl again by another of Naruto's wind attack, forcing her to try and get some distance between them again. But during the fight, Izumi was able to learn more things about Naruto's new ability to use elemental attacks. Finding that he seemed to be limited to only wind attacks at the moment and that their current surroundings and situations are forcing him to hold back. Both to not damage the building or hurt her too badly. And given everything he can do, I'm sure if he wanted to hurt me or capture me, he probably would have by now. Izumi thought before taking a breath to enter full cowl again. Only to tense when she heard Naruto clapping his hands in a strange pattern, one she soon recognized as a heartbeat. It's funny, with all the other heroes I've crushed, the one thing I enjoyed about the chase was the sound of their heartbeat. It becomes so loud that I can almost dance to it, perhaps I'll dance on your grave when I'm done with you. Naruto said from where he was, with Izumi shivering a little at his tone. He's taking this really seriously. Izumi thought, not expecting Naruto to actually make a terrifying villain with his normally bright demeanor. "There you are," stated Naruto, spotting Izumi around the corner before he shot numerous chains at her, making the greenette's eyes widening before she jumped back and managed to enter her full cowl again. "I have one shot left," Izumi thought, knowing she had to end this now as she began jumping around and dodging the chains while making her way towards Naruto. Once Izumi was close enough, she jumped up to the ceiling right above Naruto before kicking towards him, with the Uzumaki preparing a Rasengan as the girl pulled her fist back. The two attacks looking like they were about to collide, only for Naruto to be shocked when Izumi managed to twist her body around the attack and instead land on the ground in a crouch right in front of him. With the Jinchuriki's eyes widening before he gasped in pain when Izumi smashed her fist right into his stomach, knocking the wind out of him and sending him flying across the hallway. "Yes, I got him. Now to capture him," Izumi thought while going to use the capture tape on Naruto before he could recover. "Don't even think about it." Hearing the voice, Izumi turned only to see Ichako arrive with Ejiro floating behind her, making her mentally curse that he was captured. "Give up or your friend here gets a free one-way trip to the moon," threatened Ichako, even pushing Ejiro to a window and holding her hand in front of his face as if to use her quirk on him and do just that. Izumi looking at the two before looking back at Naruto only to see him getting up, having recovered from her punch with the arrival of his partner. "Well, what's it gonna be, hero? Keep fighting and watch your partner go flying away or give yourself up. Either way, you lose," Naruto said while smirking darkly behind his mask. I surrender," said Izumi in defeat, knowing with Ejiro as a hostage and Naruto having recovered from her hit, there wasn't anything she could do. "And the villains take victory again against the heroes," All Might announced. Izumi sighing in disappointment at losing, having hoped to show how far she's come with her training, only to end up losing. Before she yelped when Naruto flicked her forehead, with the greenette seeing he removed his cowl and was smiling at her. "Don't beat yourself, Izumi, you did your best and that's all that matters. Besides, you put up a great fight and would have captured me if not for Ichako stepping in," Naruto said, knowing Izumi only lost against him due to his experience, as with her full cowl, she was more than a match against him. "Yeah. Well, I didn't see you guys fighting, the fact you that were about to capture Naruto shows just how close you came to winning," added Ichako while smiling at the greenette. "Sorry for losing the battle trial, Izumi. I didn't think to look up to find Ichako. But you really proved to be a real man in nearly winning," Ejiro said, grinning and giving Izumi a thumbs up with their words helping to lift her spirit. "Thanks guys, and I'm sure you did your best as well, Ejiro," replied Izumi, thankful for their encouragement while determined to use this loss to become a better hero in training. "Congrats on winning by the way, you two. Though you can be pretty scary when you want to be, Ichako," stated Ejiro while looking at the brunette, not expecting her to be that scary as a villain. "Yeah, you were a really tough opponent, Naruto, along with being pretty scary as well," Izumi said, seeing he could be scary when he wants to be. "Thanks, and yeah, sorry, I just tried doing my best at being bad," Ichako replied sheepishly. "Same, I tried acting like the worst villain I could," Naruto said before the four left to go back to the monitor room where they met up with the others. "Well done, all of you. You four showed fantastic skills in playing your parts perfectly," said All Might as he smiled at the four, impressed with their abilities, with Mount Lady nodding in agreement. "Though you also had moments where you could have done better as well. Ichako, well your quirk is useful to get the drop on enemies like that, never assume that they won't be able to get the drop on you as well or be unable to sense where you're going to attack. Along with being aware of your entire surroundings so you don't end up getting attacked instead. And Naruto, we saw how you were holding back and while it's good to do that to avoid causing unnecessary damage, especially since you were up against your classmates. In a real fight, you should try to get them somewhere more open so you don't have to hold back and take the chance to quickly capture or knock out an opponent," said Mount Lady as she explained where they could improve themselves. "Agreed. Well for you young Kirishima, the same advice as young Uraraka, always be aware of your surroundings, otherwise you'll find yourself being attacked. Also, don't just use your eyes, make sure you listen as well for where someone could be hiding. And you young Midoriya, you were taken by surprise twice by young Uzumaki. Never assume an enemy doesn't have any tricks up their sleeves to throw you off, always be prepared for anything and expect the unexpected," All Might added. Before nodding at the advice, knowing they have to improve on a lot of things before they rejoined the other students. While All Might and Mount Lady went to see which teams will be battling it out next. All Might, Mount Lady and the students all observed the match between Team E and Team H, mostly watching as Naruto and Izumi fought against each other. While Ejiro was off searching for the weapon and Ichako, the latter of whom was lying in wait for whichever of the heroes would arrive. Most of the students being amazed as the fight progressed, with Naruto and Izumi showing more of what they can do. With All Might being especially impressed and amazed after seeing Izumi use One for All to create that energy-based attack. Amazing, young Midoriya. I didn't think it'd be possible to use the stockpiled power of One for All in such a way. But with everything you know and researched, I shouldn't be surprised that you'd find unconventional ways of using it. But it's clear that she didn't think it would work from her expression and how she braced herself, along with falling out her full cowl form. Something she'll need to work on, as it wouldn't be good to pull such a risky move in a real fight. Odd All Might, impressed with his successor, but also knowing that Izumi would need more training to use One for All in such ways to see if they'd work or not. But it also showed the number one hero that perhaps he and his predecessors may have only ever scratched the surface of what One for All could do if it could create attacks like that. Deku, you bastard. You copied my attack and my quirk. Bakugo thought, scowling in annoyance at Izumi's attack, seeing how similar it was to when he uses explosion quirk, while only being further annoyed at how it didn't backfire or blow up in her face, instead it actually worked. Way to go, Naruto. You're doing amazing and really playing the part perfectly. Though you also are holding yourself back from hurting Izumi too badly or destroying the building. Not to mention that you could end the fight instantly if you wanted but want to give her a chance as well. Something you won't be able to do in a real fight. Thought Mount Lady, pleased at how well her brother's doing but also seeing the mistakes he's making and knows where he'll need to improve himself. Though, when Naruto revealed his wind attacks, everyone was caught off guard, none of them expecting the sudden use of wind. With many being amazed when he explained that he could convert the energy created by his quirk into elemental attacks, with several students only being further stunned and amazed at this information. Would you care to explain how young Uzumaki is able to do this, Mount Lady? All Might asked while looking at the female pro-hero, intrigued since he hadn't heard anything about Naruto being able to convert his chakra into elemental attacks. But the students also looking at her, just as curious to hear how he could do it as well. It's due to Naruto's chakra being pure energy, rather than being a specific type or form of energy. It allows him to manipulate and channel it in a variety of ways, like creating his chains and energy attacks, along being able to alter it to create elemental attacks, like being able to create wind. Explained Mount Lady, much to their amazement that he had such a versatile quirk. Is wind his only element, or can he use others? Questioned one of the students, getting the teacher's attention. The student is a reasonably tall and rather muscular young man who is well built for his age. He has quite long hair, though it doesn't pass his neck, and wears bangs, parted twice as to not obscure his vision. His hair is evenly split between two colors. White on his right side and crimson red on his left, this unusual coloring being due to his quirk. As another result of this, he also possesses heterochromia iridium, which causes his left eye's iris to appear turquoise, while his right is a somewhat brownish dark gray. His eyes, in shape, are quite thin and reserved. Additionally, he has a large burn scar on the left side of his face, which reaches from his hairline to halfway down his cheek. For his hero costume, he was wearing a plain off-white shirt with matching pants and boots, with two gold-colored straps going over his shoulders. He has what appears to be a material resembling ice covering his whole left side, even his head. Shoto Todoroki, his quirk is half cold half hot, being able to create and manipulate ice with his right side and fire from his left. Mount Lady thought. Shoto being especially interested to encounter another person who had a quirk that let them control an element, potential multiple elements. Wondering if Naruto could also control ice like him or if he could use fire. With Mount Lady merely smirking and tapping the side of her nose. It's the one he's made the most progress in. Replied Mount Lady, basically saying it was a secret while leaving it up to the students to figure it out themselves. Leading the students to simply look at the screens, wondering just what elements Naruto can use, which ones he could be capable of using, and if there's a limit to how many he can use. While Bakugo looked at them with an annoyed scowl on his face. He already has those chains and that energy attack, even being able to fight off Deku with whatever that attack she's using, and now he can also use the elements. How is he this strong? Bakugo thought, not believing Naruto had even more abilities that his quirk let him use, seeing that the gap between them only seemed to grow bigger. Flashback. Bakugo looked at the list for the results of the quirk apprehension test in disbelief and anger, upon seeing that his name wasn't only not at the top, he wasn't even in the top 3. The blow only being softened at the fact he was in the top 5. But I should have been number 1. But instead it's him. Bakugo thought, narrowing his eyes at Naruto's back, while seeing that he claimed the number 1 spot. Deku may have gotten lucky in awakening some powerful quirk, but I'm coming for you, Uzumaki. Swore Bakugo, knowing Naruto was the only one that could rival him with his quirk. The red-eyed boy swearing that he'll kill the whiskered blonde and show him who's really the best. Then flashback. Don't think that being able to use the wind will save you, Uzumaki. I'll blow whatever attacks you have to pieces. Bakugo thought, refusing to let this stop him, knowing that he'll show Naruto who's the strongest and who'll be the next #1 hero. And it's not going to him or Deku. And whatever that power you have is, Deku. It won't change anything. You'll never be stronger than me. Bakugo thought resentfully, not believing how strong Izumi's gotten after having quirk for not even a year, being able to go against Naruto and even push him back a few times. But before he deals with either of them, Bakugo planned to go after Shoto first, as he looked at the dual-haired boy. Given how he beat him in having a spot in the top 3, he was going to take him down first, then Bakugo will focus on Naruto and Izumi. Once Team E and Team H returned to the monitoring room, All Might and Mount Lady began giving them a rundown on their performance. Though Bakugo wasn't paying attention, instead psyching himself up for when it was finally his match. Whatever side I'm on, anyone who gets in my way will be toast. And if I'm able to go against Todoroki, then I'll fry the little bastard. Bakugo thought with his usual intimidating smile, hoping that he'll be put against Shoto for his match. Now then, let's see who will be battling next. Team A for the heroes. Mount Lady said, while pulling a ball out of the hero's box. And against them will be Team G as the villains. Said All Might while pulling a ball out of the villain's box, with Bakugo's grin only growing at hearing he'll be getting his chance to take down Shoto. While Team A and Team G left to get ready for their match, Naruto walked over to Izumi. Hey Izumi, what was with that energy attack you used? How'd you do that? Naruto asked, having been curious of how Izumi was able to use an energy attack with her quirk, which he thought only boosted her physical abilities. I actually hadn't been sure if it'd work, but decided to try it as a way to deal with your chains. Replied Izumi, with Ichako and Ijiro hearing the men were curious of what happened. What's this about an energy attack Izumi used? Questioned Ichako, not knowing Izumi could do that with her quirk. I didn't know you could do that Izumi. Or is it something you started trying after unlocking your quirk? Ijiro asked. I hadn't been sure if I could do something like using energy attacks with my quirk. I only tried it out as a way to destroy Naruto's chains. It was actually inspired from his and Kaken's quirks, given mine and Naruto's are pretty similar. I thought I could use mine in a similar way to how he uses his. Izumi revealed, much to their surprise. Well, it was really impressive, but it definitely will need some work since it made you fall out of your full Cal form. Stated Naruto, with a green at nodding in agreement, knowing she'll need to work on using one for all his energy attacks before they can be combat ready. Yeah, but I'm glad to know it is possible, as it'll be really useful to have new ways to use my quirk. Though Naruto, why were you holding back during our fight? Izumi asked, wanting to know why Naruto was holding back when he could have ended it before it even began. Mostly, so I didn't end up hurting you too badly, as well as to give you a chance to test yourself and see how far you've come in using your quirk. Along with not wanting to end up damaging or destroying the building. But the other reason is that I want to save most of what I can do for this year's UA Sports Festival. Using my wind attacks was mostly to keep distance between us, along with making sure you didn't have time to concentrate and use your quirk. Replied Naruto, wanting to still save some tricks for the sports festival. Plus, most of what I can do will be much harder to pass off as being part of a quirk. Naruto mentally added, knowing plenty of his jutsu would be difficult to pass off as being part of his quirk, especially jutsu like the transformation, substitution, and shadow clone jutsu. That would be smart. Ensuring that you don't reveal your full capabilities to potential opponents you may eventually face. Said Tenya, given how he was doing the same while walking over to them. And congratulations to all of you, your performances were commendable and amazing. Tenya added, having been impressed by their battles. But the four nodding in thanks while giving their own congratulations to him on his trial before looked at the screens to see Team A and Team G battle. But Bakugo and Kaminari. Meanwhile, Bakugo and Kaminari had finished setting up where the weapon was as they prepared for Shoto and Yuga to arrive. The red-eyed boy glancing at his partner, getting a good look at him. Denki has short gold hair, parted to the right with a black lightning-shaped streak on the left of his side fringe, which is angled so that it partially obscures his left eye. He has slanted, somewhat triangular golden eyes and notably small eyebrows. He's slimmer than most of the other male students in his class, not having much visible muscle mass. His hero costume consisted of a plain white shirt, over which he wears an open black jacket with a white lightning pattern across his back and matching pants with two lines running down his legs. He has a single, square-shaped earphone over his right ear, something resembling a radio antenna sticking out of the top. Bakugo remembered he had a quirk that let him generate lightning, something he'd admit would be useful. So, got any plans, partner? Kaminari asked, looking at Bakugo, who merely tightened his gauntlets and clenched his fist. Yeah, you can deal Aoyama, but Todoroki's mine. Stated Bakugo, refusing to let anyone but him defeat Shoto. But Shoto and Yuga. While outside, Shoto and Yuga had just entered through the front entrance. Yuga is a young man with a slim build and a rather feminine face. He has long blonde hair, worn flattened down around the majority of his head, spiked and sticking out to the sides at the bottom of it, with a side fringe that curves upwards a little before it does down. He has notably long eyelashes and bright indigo eyes, giving him the appearance of a young prince. His hero costume consists of a bluish-black bodysuit, over which he wears a suit of metallic lavender and golden armor. A chest plate, 2 spherical shoulder pads, elbow-length vambraces, and knee-length boots. His chest plate has a high V-neck collar with a golden Greek fret-like trim, as with a lower diaphanous piece under the belt and the edges of the vambraces. It also comes with a long, glittery indigo cape, as well as a belt with a golden ring-shaped buckle with a blue crystal, from which he emits his quirk, matching the smaller ones over his shoulder pads and knees. He has straight-angled golden lines running down his baggy pants, a matching set around the shafts of his boots, and he wears a red-tinted wing-shaped visor over his eyes. I do believe that the short-tempered one will be coming for us shortly. What shall we do to defeat him? Yuga asked while looking at Shoto, who merely walked ahead of him. For your own safety, go outside. I'm sure our opponents intend to fight an offensive battle, said Shoto, before placing his hand on the wall, with ice spreading out from his hand and foot across the building. But we've already won, Shoto stated, knowing they won't be able to escape being caught by his ice, with Yuga looking in shock at the power of his quirk before quickly going outside, watching as the entire building was covered in ice. But Bakugo and Kaminari. Back with the villains, they suddenly felt the temperature rapidly dropping before they saw ice approaching them at a fast rate. Jump now! Bakugo shouted, just in time as he and Kaminari narrowly avoided being hit by the ice. Don't think a little ice will stop me, Todoroki, yelled Bakugo, slamming his hand on the ground, unleashing an explosion that destroyed the encroaching ice, preventing it from going any further. Using his quirk to destroy more of the ice, Bakugo rushed downstairs to face Shoto, soon finding him still at the entrance. I got you now, Ice Boy. Bakugo shouted before jumping towards Shoto to hit him with an explosion, only for the dual-haired boy to jump back and create a wall of ice to take the hit, which was blown to pieces from Bakugo's explosion. So, you actually were able to escape my ice and destroy it. I'm actually impressed that you could react fast enough. But let's see how long that lasts. Shoto said with a smirk, making Bakugo growl. Aoyama, go find Kaminari and the weapon, I'll deal with Bakugo, Shoto said to his partner. Right away, monsieur, replied Yuga before turning around and jumping, firing his naval laser to send him flying past Shoto and Bakugo, the latter not even attempting to stop him, with all his attention being on the ice user. You should have kept him around, because then you might have stood a chance, said Bakugo before launching himself towards Shoto, who merely raised his right hand. And you never stood a chance against me, Shoto replied, unleashing a blast of ice at the explosion quirk user, with Bakugo thrusting his hand forward destroying the ice in an explosion. Getting in close to Shoto, Bakugo held his hand in front of his face, triggering another explosion that sent Shoto skidding back before placing his hand on the ground. Swiping his arm up, Shoto created a wave of ice that rushed towards Bakugo, who merely fired off another explosion, destroying the ice. Only for Shoto to use the smoke as cover, jumping through and kicking Bakugo in the chest, not only knocking him back, but also cover him in ice. I already said, you can't stop me with a little ice, Bakugo growled before slamming his gauntlet into the ice, breaking it before firing another explosion at Shoto, who dodged out of the way. And you'll need more than a few little explosions to beat me, stated Shoto before he froze the ground underneath him and Bakugo, with the latter jumping up when the ice approached him to avoid being frozen. Only to grunt when Shoto then skated across the ice and slammed right into him, knocking the blonde villain down the corridor, sliding across the ice. With Bakugo having difficulty standing on the ice before he was hit again by Shoto, this time with his entire left arm being encased in ice, much to his shock. Before he growled in anger and slammed his ice-covered arm on the ground, releasing a large explosion that broke the ice on his arm and on the ground around him. Then let's see you handle something bigger, shouted Bakugo, holding his arms behind him before throwing them forward, unleashing 2 large explosions towards Shoto, who created another wall of ice, one bigger and thicker than the first to withstand the explosions. Only for the wall to be reduced to pieces by the force of the explosions, making Bakugo grin wickedly before it quickly faded when Shoto came surfing out of the smoke on a wave of ice. Scowling, Bakugo rushed towards Shoto and jumped at him, thrusting his hand towards the ice user, with Shoto doing the same, their 2 attacks colliding in an explosion of ice. With Kaminari and Yuga. Meanwhile, above where Bakugo and Shoto were fighting, Yuga had arrived where Kaminari and the weapon were, leading to a battle between the two. Only for it to turn into a battle of endurance between their quirks, given the weaknesses they both had. Kaminari short-circuiting his brain if he overused his quirk and Yuga getting stomach pains from using his. forcing both of them to use their quirk sparingly and aim to take down their opponent quickly. With Kaminari rolling underneath a blast from Yuga before firing a bolt of lightning at the French hero, only for Yuga to spin out of the lightning. With Yuga then firing another blast, only instead of at Kaminari, he fired it at the ground and launched himself into the air, where he kicked off a pillar towards the weapon. "Oh no you don't," Kaminari said, taking aim and firing a lightning bolt at Yuga, who managed to fire off a naval laser which met the lightning, though was still knocked Yuga off course, sending him skidding across the ground. Seeing this, Kaminari quickly fired another lightning blast at Yuga, who once again spun out of the way, making the lightning quirk user smirk. "Got you now, hero," said Kaminari, firing second blast of lightning right where Yuga dodged to, making his eyes widen as he quickly fired another naval laser. Only to groan in pain as he reached his limit for using his quirk, forcing him to cancel his attack and jump out of the way of the lightning. Only to cry out when Kaminari managed to hit him with a bolt when he tried dodging. "Why Kaminari muttered as he walked around, chuckling dumbly and holding his hands in a double thumbs up with a derpy blank look on his face. Revealing that the match had ended in a draw, since while Kaminari was able to take down Aoyama, he ended up jacking his brain in doing so. But Bakugo and Shoto. Back with Bakugo and Shoto, both boys seemed to be evenly matched. Shoto, with his ice to block Bakugo's explosions and freeze him, and Bakugo, with his explosions to destroy Shoto's ice. Though it was soon becoming clear that Shoto had the advantage, having managed to freeze Bakugo's leg to the ground, leaving him immobile until he managed to break free. Something Bakugo began seeing as well, making him start to become more desperate to take down Shoto. "Are you done?" questioned Shoto, already seeing that it's only a matter of time before he wins, while seeing that Bakugo was starting to get sloppy in his desperation. Which only seemed to anger the blonde before he grinned wickedly when his gauntlets flashed red, showing he's collected enough sweat for a monster-sized blast. "No, but you are," Bakugo said, holding up his gauntlets and pulling the pins back, showing smaller ones which he grabbed and aimed at Shoto. "Young Bakugo, you're going too far. Don't do it, you'll kill him," said All Might, knowing what Bakugo was about to do and knew he's taking it too far. "He'll be fine as long as he dodges," retorted Bakugo. "Don't even think about it, Bakugo. That's your only warning, stop this now," Mount Lady demanded. "Too late," Bakugo said, pulling the pins and aiming his gauntlets at Shoto, unleashing a massive blast that rushed right towards the dual-haired boy, whose eyes widened at the sight before he narrowed them in concentration. When the explosion hit Shoto, it continued through the building, destroying everything in its path as it went out the wall and outside. "Ahahaha. These are awesome. The more nitroglycerin sweat stored in my gauntlets, the bigger the explosion. Well, what do you have to say now, Todoroki? Still think I don't stand a chance?" demanded Bakugo while moving through the smoke. "Freeze," Shoto muttered as Bakugo's eyes widened as he was stopped in his tracks. Looking down, Bakugo was shocked and horrified to suddenly find his entire body up to his chest was encased in ice. Before he looked up and saw Shoto covered in ice which shattered, revealing his partially scorched costume, but the boy was otherwise fine. "I admit, if that had been any other student, you likely would have either killed them or knocked them out. But it was simply a bad matchup that you had to go against me," Shoto stated, having plenty of experience with fire and similar kinds of attacks from Endeavor, so he's learned how to counter and defend against them. "Both the villains have been defeated and captured. The heroes are the winners," said All Might, seeing that Shoto was the last one standing, meaning Team A are the winners. What? Thought Bakugo in a state of dumbfounded shock and horror that he actually lost, but not only did he lose, it started sinking in that he had been so outmatched that he was always going to lose. Not even registering Shoto melting the ice or him returning to the monitor room with the others, merely looking forward with a wide-eyed expression. "Well done all of you, you all certainly did your best. However, there were several things you could have done better. Kaminari, well you were able to defeat Aoyama in the end, you also took yourself out as well from overusing your quirk. You could have tried hiding away somewhere and waiting for the heroes to arrive before striking when they least expected it. Along with potentially making Aoyama overuse his quirk early or getting in close to prevent him from using it altogether. While Aoyama, you did good in holding your own and almost getting the weapon, you could have also stayed behind to help Todoroki defeat Bakugo. Allowing both of you to then work together to defeat Kaminari and retrieve the weapon. Along with drawing him away from the weapon in order to get the drop on him or entering the room from another point," Mount Lady said, with both Yuga and Kaminari nodding at what they could have done better. "While you, young Todoroki, you did excellent in the beginning by freezing the building. Not only would it have trapped your enemies, but also not damage the weapon and ensure your teammate wasn't caught in the ice, as well. However, you should never assume that you can simply trap your opponents in ice, whether they can simply break out of it or destroy it, like young Bakugo did. Having power is good and all, but it won't do you much good unless you know what your enemy is capable of. There was also how you could have ended the fight early, like how you defeated young Bakugo in the end, as he could have just as easily critically injured you with that explosion. And for you young Bakugo, well you put up an excellent fight, you let your emotions blind you, only focusing on defeating young Todoroki, to the point where you became desperate and resorted to an attack that could have killed him. In battle, you must never lose your cool or allow your enemy to get the better of you, like that. As they could make you react how they'd want you to, which would lead to your defeat. Said All Might, with Shoto nodding at his words, given he had been expecting to end things quickly by freezing them both, only for it to backfire. While Bakugo merely continued looking forward with wide eyes. Something that both teachers noticed and saw that he didn't seem to be snapping out of it anytime soon. Was this the first time he's ever truly lost? Thought All Might and Mount Lady, knowing that the first defeat can always be the hardest, especially for those that have never truly experienced it before. Pakin. Izumi thought, worried for her childhood friend, having never seen him like this before. Now then, it's time for the final two teams. Team I and Team B, it's time to show us you're the embodiment of good or evil. Let's go. All Might declared as he and Mount Lady saw which team would be the heroes and who'd be the villains. With it being decided that Team B were the villains and Team I were the heroes, with both teams going out to get ready and begin their own match. Once the match started, everyone saw it was going to be a close match, with Toru's invisibility against Momo's creation. The latter of which she tried using to make something to try and see Toru, only for them to not come out right, forcing her to create stuff that'd reveal where she was hiding. In the end Team B ended as the winners, thanks to Toru's invisibility and Mina's acid surrounding the weapon, preventing them from getting close to it. That's a wrap. Super work, you really stepped up to the plate. All Might said, after they'd all gathered at the entrance of Ground Beta. Even better that we didn't have any major injuries. You all did wonderfully and give it your all, while still ensuring you didn't injure your classmates or yourselves. You should all be proud. Added Mount Lady, with All Might nodding in agreement, glad that no one was seriously injured. Indeed, excellent first day of training, all around. Stated All Might, giving them a thumbs up, something the students like to hear, especially after their homeroom class with Aizawa. Well, that's all for now folks. Now, watch how Pro exits. Like he's got somewhere to be. All Might said, before rushing off, feeling he was getting dangerously close to his limit and would transform back soon. All the students were amazed at how fast All Might was able to run, the symbol of peace glancing back at Bakugo, knowing he'll need to speak with him before his overwhelming pride crushed him. But for now, he needed to rest and recover his strength to enter his hero form again, later. After they were dismissed, Izumi had given her costume to the support course for any potential upgrades that they can give to it. Given her fight with Naruto and repeated use of full cowl caused it to get ripped and torn a lot, so she needed to be stronger and more durable. With the Greenette then going to meet up with Naruto, Achako, Tenya, and Ijiro. Though before she did, she noticed Bakugo walking out of the school, much to her confusion and surprise. Pakin. Wait up. Izumi called out as she ran up to him, making Bakugo stop and turn his head towards her. What? Demanded Bakugo lowly, not in the mood to deal with anyone, making Izumi flinch slightly before steeling herself. I just wanted to say, you did really great in the battle trials, you showed everyone just how strong you are. Especially those gauntlets you have, but I'm sure with enough training, you'll be able to make even bigger explosions on your own. And I know it must be hard to lose, since I can't remember all the times I've lost and I'm still losing, even now. But as long as we keep pushing ourselves to be stronger and better than we were before, then I'm sure that next time will be different. We could even Izumi said, offering to let Bakugo train with her and Naruto, sure that he could help him get stronger, just like he's helping her. Shut up. And don't talk to me like I'm some pathetic loser that needs help. Todoroki already made a fool of me in that damn training exercise, then him and Uzumaki beating me in the quirk apprehension test. And now you, who was just a quirkless loser before, you were able to go against Uzumaki and would have beaten him, and you only just got your damn quirk. I've been training my quirk for years, but what have I got to show for it? I was captured by that sludge villain, I was beaten in the quirk apprehension test, and now I've lost against Todoroki again. Hell, I'm pretty sure that the only reason Uzumaki came second place in the entrance exams while I came in first was because he was holding himself back. Bakugo shouted, breaking down into tears as his insecurities and frustration over his recent string of losses finally came out, with Izumi looking at him with wide eyes. So, don't talk to me like we're the same, cause we're not. I don't need your help, I'm gonna get stronger on my own and show everyone who's the strongest here. That I'm going to be the #1 hero. And tell Uzumaki, I'm never losing to him again. Him or anyone else. said Bakugo before turning around and continuing on his way while wiping his eye, with Izumi looking at him before letting out a sigh. "There you are," shouted All Might rushing past Izumi, startlingly the greenette at his sudden appearance. "Bakugo. I found you," All Might stated, putting his hands on Bakugo's shoulders before he panted slightly since he's still recovering his strength from his earlier transformation. "Just so you know, pride is an important attribute to have. But while you certainly have the abilities to become a pro hero, there's still plenty you have to learn," said All Might. "Let go of me, All Might. Right now," demanded Bakugo, surprising All Might as the boy looked at him. "Save your speeches. I'll be more famous than you, and I'll do it without your help," Bakugo said, with All Might being further surprised before letting go. "Alright," All Might muttered, watching Bakugo leave, guessing he's already over it. "Being a teacher is harder than I thought All Might before looking at Izumi, curious of what she'd told Bakugo before he arrived. Later. After Izumi filled All Might in on all the details of what she told Bakugo, she met up with Naruto and Ichako, with the three heading to training ground Omega. With this one being a large, wooden and forest area, something that Naruto enjoyed, with how it reminded him of his old village. But the Uzumaki continuing to help Izumi in training her quirk, along with learning the strong fist, while making good on his offer to help Ichako train her quirk as well. "Just keep focused on block out the nausea, Ichako," Naruto said from beneath a tree, while Ichako was struggling to keep herself and several rocks floating in the air. "Alright," replied Ichako, feeling her nausea acting up with how much she was floating in the air, in addition to floating herself, since Naruto is having her work on increasing the weight limit of how much she can lift and reduce the resulting nausea. All while she couldn't wear her costume, since it could be damaged in a fight, which could result in her being incapacitated from a sudden rush of nausea. This way, when she was wearing it, the negative effects of her quirk would be reduced even more and not be as bad if her costume was damaged. "Don't worry, this'll benefit you in the long run. Besides, you can't improve without some pain. And remember to keep breathing," Naruto stated, with the brunette nodding slowly while taking slow measured breaths. Naruto then pulled out his phone, sent a text to Tenya. "Ben. I'm training with Izumi and Ichako. Could I send you a video and see if you have any tips and advice that could help them? I would be happy to assist in their training. Let me see what they are working on now and I'll see what I can think of." The Uzumaki smirked at this before sending Tenya a video, just not the one he would be expecting. Rickroling. "Honestly, what year do you think it is to do something like that? Ben. Consider it a prelude of what's to come. I was known as the prankster king from hell in my village and now I have you in my sights, Tenya. And consider it payback for calling out Izumi during the entrance exam. You should be scared, you should be very, very scared. And I don't try running or hiding, because I will find you, I'll always find you and know that wherever you go, I'll be right behind you. Then. You can now whimper in fear for what I have planned for you." Naruto chuckled lowly, knowing that should sufficiently terrify Tenya and put him on edge, just the way he likes his prey. "Hey Naruto, why aren't you training as well? And why do you look so relaxed?" Izumi asked, looking at the whiskered blonde, seeing he hasn't joined them in training and noticing how he seemed more relaxed right now, while also pulling Naruto out of his thoughts. "Yeah, sorry, I just really like this training ground, it reminds me of home," replied Naruto, making the two girls look at him in confusion. "How does it remind you of your home?" questioned Ichako. "My village was surrounded by a large forest. The trees were so gigantic that you could barely see the tops or the sky through them," Naruto answered, much to their surprise and amazement. "So Izumi, do you have any ideas for how you plan to use your quirk to create energy attacks?" Naruto asked, curious if she had any ideas for energy attacks. "Not yet, well I'm thinking of new ideas and ways to use it. I want to get more training done in the strong fist and using my full cowl before moving on to something else," replied Izumi, not wanting to split her attention and focus on too many things at once, something that Naruto nodded at. "Why don't you try keeping your full cowl activated all the time? As a way to get better used to it," Ichako suggested, making Naruto and Izumi look at her. "Keep it activated all the time?" Izumi said, wondering if that'd even work, while Naruto soon nodded in agreement with Ichako. "That could work, keeping full cowl activated all the time would help you get used to it for longer periods of time. Even keeping it activated while doing your daily tasks, which would also help you in controlling your strength as well," said Naruto, with Izumi thinking it over for a few moments. "That could work. I could even activate and deactivate it a couple times each day to cut back on the amount of time it takes to activate it as well as the concentration I need to activate it. It could even help me in using more of my quirk's power by getting used to the amount I can use at the moment and start drawing out more," said Izumi, liking the idea as well as how much it'll help her mastering One for All and her full cowl much quicker. "Yep. You'll really be a force to be reckoned with, Izumi, once you master your quirk. Though your greatest weapon has to be your mind, with how you think of new ways to use it and keep improving yourself. Keep thinking like that and I know you'll be a great hero in no time. Naruto said, smiling at the greenette, making Izumi blush lightly at his praise. Thanks Naruto, but you're really amazing too, along with your quirk and all the ways you can use it. Replied Izumi, knowing that Naruto will be an amazing hero as well. What about me, Naruto? Won't I be a great hero? Ochako asked, frowning, feeling annoyed at how Naruto was praising Izumi. Absolutely. I think you potentially have one of the most powerful quirks there are, Ochako. Given with the right training and enough time, you could be very powerful with your control over gravity. Either making someone float right in the air with no way back down or even send them crashing into the ground by suddenly deactivating your quirk on them. Either way, it'll leave them completely helpless and that's not counting all the other ways you could use it. So yeah, you'll definitely be a powerful hero, Ochako. Said Naruto, making Ochako smile brightly before giving Izumi a small smirk, much to the greenette's annoyance. Thank you, Naruto, and yeah, I've actually been thinking of other ways I could potentially use my quirk after you told me your ideas before. You're really smart with the ideas you have. Ochako replied, which only further annoyed Izumi. Well, what about me? How powerful could I be as a hero, Naruto? Questioned Izumi, not liking that he said Ochako could be one of the strongest heroes. Well, since your quirk is similar to mine own and All Might's, you should be wondering if you would even have limits at all, Izumi. As for a powerful hero, I think that's already a given. Naruto replied, with Izumi smiling this time and smirking at the annoyed Ochako. But that's enough talking for now, you still have training to complete. And good work, Ochako, you haven't faltered once for a while. Added Naruto, seeing that Ochako was looking more calm and relaxed, not showing any signs of nausea. Making the brunette smirk at Izumi, who narrowed her eyes before activating her full cowl. Both girls looking at each in annoyance and jealously before they began training even harder, refusing to let other get ahead of them. Though, part of them can't help but wonder why they felt so jealous of each other with how Naruto has been praising them. Knowing that they couldn't be liking Naruto as more than a friend given how recently they've met him. Before brushing it off as them just feeling competitive on who will become the better hero. Given how powerful, he said their quirks could be, as well as their potential in being great heroes. Completely unaware that while they just recently met Naruto, they had somehow managed to develop a level of attraction for him. Thanks to his overall personality and charisma, along with how he has so much faith in them to one day become some of the greatest heroes of their generation. While being more than willing to help them and training their quirks and abilities to one day make that a reality. What if Naruto x Mount Lady and My Hero Academia end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.